So Guya, what if Naruto x Wonder Woman harem movie? For the last few hours aliens had been invading planet Earth in what could only be described as something out of War of the Worlds. It had started in Metropolis, the home city of the hero Superman, with a single meteor crashing into the city before a walker emerged from the meteor. It stood on 3 long legs with a mainly white body and triangular head and was able to shoot a beam of energy out of what looked like an eye that was part of its head. The Man of Steel found himself hard-pressed to take down even one of the alien walkers, so when 2 more came out of the meteor things seemed bleak, and though Superman had help from Batman, the world's greatest detective, in his Batjet they were still losing. In the end Superman flew off with Batman in tow in search for a way to turn the tide, leaving the army to fight the alien invasion, an invasion that was happening all across the world. In the mountains Superman broke into a government facility that forcibly contained John Johns, the Martian Manhunter, and the lone survivor of Mars when the parasite-like aliens invaded his home world, killed his people, and stole their shape-shifting powers. He, Superman, and Batman were just leaving the secret government base when they confronted by a general and his soldiers that turned out to be alien foot soldiers. They were tall, pale white and black aliens with a single red dot on their heads, all of whom carried blasters that were aimed at the heroes. Reacting quickly, Superman acted as a distraction for Batman and John to get away in the Dark Knight's jet before flying after them. "That was close," Batman said as he piloted his jet, sparing his passenger a quick glance. "We're not safe yet," John refuted, looking out the side window. "Look," he instructed. Just like the Martian said, triangular-shaped ships flew out of the surrounding mountains that possessed traits that clearly indicated that they belonged to the white aliens. With some great piloting skills, Batman was able to outmaneuver the alien ships and dodge the laser fire, as Superman knocked out as many ships out of the sky as he could. Eventually even the Batman couldn't avoid all the laser fire he was under and was hit, one of his jet's wings being blasted off. "Hang on," Batman yelled, doing his best to land the out-of-control jet safely, but before too long, though the entire Batjet was covered by a green energy that stopped their descent. "What happened?" Batman asked, looking around before spotting a dark-skinned man in a green and black outfit standing on a mountain edge above them. It was John Stewart, the Green Lantern. "Help has arrived," John answered Batman's question as another figure appeared in the sky, this time a woman with wings on her back and a hawk mask on her head. The winged woman wielded a mace that sparked with electricity, which she proceeded to smash into 2 ships, destroying them instantly. "Hawkgirl," Batman spoke, spotting the woman as well. "What is she doing here?" he wondered, looking back at his passenger in question. At that point John turned transparent before phasing through the Batjet, having recovered enough strength since his rescue to help the others fight against the invaders, and joined the other flying heroes along with Superman as the jet was placed on the ground. The 4 heroes made quick work of many of the alien ships with the use of their respective powers. Though even with their abilities the enemy numbers were far too great, as proven when one ship managed to fire its laser and come close enough to knock Hawkgirl out of the sky. Hawkgirl was barely able to raise her head in time to see the ship that had blasted her out of the sky come around again as it prepared to open fire, but at that very moment a second woman appeared, flying out of the sky and standing between the downed Hawkgirl and the incoming ship. The beauty of a woman was tall, with a figure that most supermodels can only dream of having, with long raven black hair that came down to her mid-back and striking blue eyes. "Allow me," the woman said calmly as she began to deflect the laser fire with the use of her silver bracelets until she redirected one of the lasers back at the alien ship. Green Lantern, seeing the trajectory of the falling ship, quickly created a dome of green energy with his ring, protecting the 2 women. "Who's the rookie in the tiara?" he asked Superman, as the Man of Steel threw one of the ships into the side of a mountain. "Not sure," the last son of Krypton answered, as he and the others moved to regroup where Batman's jet was set down. Moving across the ground was a red blur that seemed to carrying something over his head. Not until he came to a stop beside Batman did it reveal that the blur was in fact Flash, the fastest man in the world. "Hey Bats, I think you dropped this," the red speedster said with a grin on his face. The grin disappeared and was replaced with a look of awe when the raven-haired woman, along with Superman, but Flash wasn't really paying him any attention, landed near them. Just as Flash was about to open his mouth for one of his cheap pickup lines, John cut him off before he could begin by landing next to them. With Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, his gaze fixed on the sky above. "It is not over yet," he informed them. a few alien ships who initially stayed back to provide backup flying towards them. Before any of them could move to engage the incoming ships, a dragon made completely out of fire with a serpentine-like body appeared from another mountain and moved towards the ships. By the gods, the raven-haired woman breathed out, never having seen anything like it, her eyes wide with amazement as she watched the dragon tear through all the remaining ships before it vanished. Though there was a perpetual frown on the Batman's face, it managed to deepen slightly at the sight of the fire dragon. Knowing only one person who could pull off a move like that, with a heavy sigh, which drew everyone's attention to him, Batman reached into his utility belt and brought out one of his batarangs, though this one was different from the other ones he had. On the batarang's side was something written on it that none of them could make out, but was something that Superman recognized, having seen that same strange writing before. For a moment the heroes were blinded by a flash of yellow light. When the light died down, they saw someone only a few of them recognized standing there. His hand outstretched with the batarang between his fingers. From what they could tell, the person was male, wearing a long-sleeved black cloak that was closed over his upper body, with an orange shirt barely visible under it, but opened up at waist down. The coat had a hood that the man had over his head, and that along with the face mask he wore made it so that only his cerulean blue eyes along with a few strands of sun-kissed blonde hair could be seen. He had black Anbu-style pants, black steel-toed combat boots, and fingerless black gloves on. Around his neck was long orange scarf going over his shoulders and stopping at his mid-back. On his coat sleeve was the image of a nine-tailed fox, and on the back was a red spiral with 9 white tones surrounding it. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, a shinobi of Konoha, but the world, this world anyway, knew him as the superhero Fox. Bats, Fox said cheerfully. You actually used this, he continued, handing the batarang with Hiraishan seal on it back to the Dark Knight. I am touched, he finished, wiping away an imaginary tear. Be serious, Fox, Batman instructed, this is no time for games. Still no fun, I see, Fox murmured, giving the bat an eye smile, before looking around at the gathered heroes and instantly spotting Superman. Ah, Supes, you're here too. Superman smiled at the blonde man. Hey there, Fox, it's been a while, he greeted the Fox-themed superhero. Would someone mind telling me who this guy is? Green Lantern asked somewhat demandingly. Naruto turned to look at the dark-skinned man aloofly. Judging by the symbol on his chest, it was clear that he was a Green Lantern, having met Hal Jordan, another Green Lantern, before, and at the moment Naruto was wishing it was him that was there instead of this man. Judging by the way he was standing, it was obvious that the man was ex-military, possibly even Marine, and was therefore very strict and serious, not necessarily the kind of person that the blonde shinobi got along with, as he unintentionally pissed them off because of how he acted. The name is Fox, Naruto replied, giving a man an eye smile as well after a moment. Just Fox, not Foxman, the Fox, or Black Shadow Fox, just Fox, remember it. The blonde hero proclaimed loudly, some traits from his childhood shining through. I heard of you, Flash said, appearing beside Fox in an instant. Along with Superman and Batman, you're considered one of the best heroes in the world, a real hot shot. Together you guys are like the big three, he said, recalling some of the things he had read and heard about the black-clothed hero alongside with the Man of Steel and the Dark Knight. Fox looked at the red speedster with a smirk on his face. Well, what everyone thought was a smirk anyway. And you're Flash, the fastest man in the world, he stated, a confident and challenging look appearing in his eyes, though honestly I think I might be faster. Flash looked momentarily surprised by Fox's claim before a smirk appeared on his face. Is that so? He asked. I guess we'll just have to race and find out. Just don't feel too bad when you come in second place, Flash finished, matching Naruto's confidence with his own. That's enough, you two, Batman cut in. We don't have time for this, he stated before turning his gaze to the blue-eyed hero. What are you doing here, Fox? Last I heard you were halfway across the country. I telepathically summoned him along with the others, John said, though before we continue I feel that it is only right that we allow our newest ally to introduce herself, the Martian stated, looking toward the raven-haired woman. For the first time Naruto noticed the blue-eyed woman. Though looking at her he wasn't sure how he could have missed her. She wore a red top with 2 golden W on her bountiful chest, golden belt around her waist, blue bottoms with white stars on them, and red and silver boots that went up to mid-leg. She had on silver bracelets on her wrists and silver star earrings and a golden lasso on her waist. On her forehead she had a gold tiara with a ruby red star on it keeping her hair from falling into her eyes. Her figure was something that Naruto thought had to have been fashioned by the gods themselves, as he had never seen a woman like her either in this world or the elemental nations. Her toned body spoke of someone that trained frequently. Apparently he had been starring, because a second later Batman elbowed him in order to snap him out of it. Seeing everyone's attention on her, the woman began to introduce herself. "I come from Themyscira," the woman began. "Where?" Flash asked confusedly. "The home of the Amazons," Hawkgirl answered. "I always thought it was merely a legend," the winged woman stated. "I assure you it is as real as the ground on which we stand. I am Diana, Princess of the Amazons," Diana introduced herself. That bit of information reminded Naruto of a similar black-haired woman back in the elemental nations who would also become the leader of warrior women. "Themyscira is protected by the gods," Diana continued, "but I could not idly stand by while the rest of the world was in danger," she told them. "And danger from what exactly?" Flash asked. "I am usually quick, I am the uptake, but right now I am completely lost, so would someone mind catching me up and telling what the heck is going on?" While Superman repaired the Batjet with the use of his heat vision, John proceeded to tell the gathered heroes his story. How his home planet was invaded by the aliens, their culture destroyed, and how a small team of Martian survivors led one last desperate attack on the invaders with the use of a nerve gas that paralyzed them. The end result: the attack was successful, but John was the only survivor. After it was all over, John sealed them away so that they remained in a state of suspended animation. "For over 500 years I stood guard over them," John said as he looked out into the distance, "but then while I was in hibernation cycle, astronauts from Earth unsealed the stronghold and accidentally revived the invaders." "Wait," Flash cut in, "those astronauts never said anything about finding life on Mars," the speedster said. "HMPH, Green Lantern huffed. "Some pencil pusher in Washington probably decided it should be classified information," the man decided. "I am not so sure." Fox spoke up. "The government is not good at keeping most things secret," he said. "Even if it's just rumors and conspiracy theories, you can usually find some information leaked and on the internet. Something like life on Mars would definitely not have been kept secret, especially with how things are now," the dark-clothed hero stated. "Either way," John continued, "with all the Martians gone, the invaders had nothing left to feed upon, so they turned their sights to Earth. I narrowly escaped and came here to warn of the coming danger. The last Martian informed them, while I was being held against my will. The invaders sent advance agents to disable Earth's defenses. That's why they sabotaged the Deep Space Monitoring Network," Batman realized, "so that we couldn't detect their activities. We've got to stop them before it's too late," Green Lantern stated, his eyes glowing green. "It may already be too late," John said ominously. "No, it's not too late," Fox refuted, shaking his head and drawing the Martians' attention to him. "We are still willing to fight," he continued, gesturing to the others. "I refuse to just give up and let these guys win. As long as I still draw breath, I will continue to fight for this planet and all those who live here," Naruto finished with conviction clearly evident in his voice. John stared at Naruto silently for a moment before speaking up. "You have an optimistic way of looking at things," he stated surely. The sudden rumbling of thunder drew the heroes' attention as they suddenly saw black clouds rising from Metropolis general direction, bolts of lightning flashing from the clouds and high into the sky, as Superman had to visibly restrain himself from flying off and protecting his home city. "What was that?" Diana asked, looking at the rising clouds. "It's begun," John replied, having flashbacks of similar events happening back on Mars. "What are they doing?" Hawkgirl asked, looking toward John for answers. "The invaders are nocturnal," John replied. "They want to blot out the sun so that they can live in perpetual darkness." "Well, I agree with Fox." Flash began moving towards John. "I am not about to give up without a fight, so let's whip up another batch of that nerve gas and deal with these guys," he said with a confident smile on his face. "Unfortunately, it's not that simple," the last Martian said grimly, wiping the smile off of Flash's face. "The gas can only be made from a rare Martian plant," he informed them. "I brought a sample with me, but it was destroyed when I was captured." "That might have been for the best," Batman stated evenly. "We have no idea what kind of effect the plant could have on Earth, if it could survive in this atmosphere at all. Best case scenario, it does what it's supposed to and paralysis the invaders. Worst case, it slowly kills all life on Earth while making the invaders stronger. He said factually, we would have to run the plant through some intensive tests and they are not the kind of thing that happens in a couple of hours. That's a dark way of looking at things, Bats, even for you, Flash said with a frown on his face. Someone has to, the Dark Knight said coolly, and no one could really contradict that. So what's plan B? Flash asked, moving the conversation along. We'll have to take out those factories, Diana decided, though one person in particular didn't appreciate her opinion. Lady, this is no job for amateurs, Jon Stewart said brusquely. It's not that he had anything against the Amazon princess, it is just that people's lives were at jeopardy and the raven-haired woman had no experience when it came to being a hero. The fact that he had to save her and Hawkgirl from the alien ship that she took down was proof of that. Diana glared at the dark-skinned man. We Amazons are warriors born, Diana stated. Want to test me? She asked Green Lantern challengingly, not about to let anyone talk down to her, as they glared at one another. Fox stepped in between Diana and Green Lantern before they could come to blows or things got worse. That's enough, Fox said sternly, placing his hands on their shoulders and forcing them apart from one another. We are all on the same side here, he stated, his gaze shifting between the two. Now is not the time to fight amongst ourselves. After we've saved the world, if you two still want to kick the shit out of each other, I won't stop you. Until then you'll just have to get along. Naruto finished, restraining himself from blasting the two heroes with K.I. While neither Green Lantern nor Diana looked all that pleased, they relented to put their differences aside for the moment. All right, Naruto continued, I agree with Diana that we have to take out those factories. If we let the invaders take too much of a foothold, they will only be that much harder to defeat later on, the shinobi reasoned, drawing a pleased look from Diana and a disgruntled look from Green Lantern. We also need to gather information on the enemy. Most importantly, if they have any weaknesses, the best way to do that is to split up into teams and attack multiple factories, Fox concluded, looking to the others and seeing that they agreed with his plan. Flash was quickest to react, naturally, to Naruto's plan as he sped to Diana's side. Dibs on the Amazon, he said, a smile on his face and an arm over the princess' shoulder, as a dumbfounded look appeared on her face. Unfortunately and fortunately for Flash, he would be getting his wish. In Egypt, Batman, Fox, and Diana were hiding by some destroyed ruins near the Sphinx where another alien factory was located. At the moment they were waiting for John to return from scouting the area for a way into the factory, and Diana was quickly losing her patience. Already the factory managed to block out a majority of the sky, leaving only a few patches to still be visible. Hiding like cowards is not the Amazon way, Diana stated frustratingly as an alien walker passed them by. But you're not just an Amazon anymore, Diana, Fox said, trying to placate the Amazon princess. You're a hero as well, and that means doing things differently from what you are used to, and trust me, I know how difficult that is, he finished. Besides, Batman continued, peering around the corner at where the factory was located, our objective is to also find any possible weaknesses that they possess, the Dark Knight reminded her. When we find it, we'll strike, he assured her. At that moment John phased up from the ground. I have scouted the outer walls, the last Martian reported. There are no openings. Then we'll make our own, Diana determined, finally getting tired of waiting, before flying off. John moved to stop the Amazon princess, only to be held back by Batman. Wait, he said, let's see what she can do. Diana flew at one of the alien walkers, gracefully dodging around the laser blasts shot at her as she drew her golden lasso. Managing to get her lasso around one of the walker's legs, Diana quickly flew around it before landing on one of its 3 legs. There were 2 other walkers that had noticed what the princess was doing and tried to stop her. But even with one hand, Diana managed to deflect the laser fire back at them and destroy them. Focusing her attention back on the walker that she was standing on, the Amazon started to pull. Hera, give me strength, Diana prayed. For a few seconds Diana's strength went up against the walkers before Diana proved to be the stronger of the 2. The walker's legs drew closed as it lost its balance. Diana was able to direct it expertly, causing it to fall towards the factory and creating a hole in its wall. The raven-haired princess looked proudly at her work before turning her gaze to her fellow heroes. There is your entrance, she told them confidently before flying in. Not bad, Batman decided before glancing towards Fox. What do you think? Naruto hummed thoughtfully before replying. Well, she is headstrong. Impatient, brave, and strong, Fox said, keeping the fact that he thought that she was breathtakingly gorgeous to just himself. Honestly, she reminds me of myself when I first started out, only she has the skills and training to back up whatever she does. He continued, a grin spreading under his mask. She only needs a more experience before she becomes something great, a real wonder of a woman. One Naruto finished before he, Batman, and John went after Diana. Once inside, they found the Amazon princess defending herself against some aliens' weapon fire. Though seeing that their weapons weren't having any effect and that Diana now had reinforcements caused them to run away. One alien in particular carefully moved around a beam of light from the sun that managed to not only pierce through the black clouds of the sky but also into the whole of the factory, a fact that wasn't missed by Fox or Batman. They run like cowards, Diana stated, focused solely on their retreating enemy. What are you waiting for? She demanded, chasing after the white aliens with John chasing after her. For a moment Batman and Fox remained behind. Did you see that? Batman asked his fellow dark-dressed hero. Yeah, Naruto replied, looking back at the sun. You don't think he trailed off at the end? Possibly, Batman said vaguely before continuing. Either way, we should take this time to come up with a backup plan. Always be prepared, Naruto guessed, knowing the Dark Knight's knack for carrying an assortment of gadgets in his belt for any situation, including, but not limited to, shark repellent. Where, how, and why Batman had shark repellent was anyone's guess. A smirk appeared on Batman's face. I've taught you well, too, he said as they began to go after the other two heroes while forming a plan of their own. Don't remind me, Naruto mumbled. The further that the team of four traveled into the alien factory, the more they were confronted with more opponents. As the white aliens seemed to gain a backbone, if they even really have one at all, choosing to fight the heroes instead of run away like before. Normally the heroes would have found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer numbers that the enemy possessed, but with Naruto's shadow clone jutsu, a technique that had taken Diana and John by surprise when the blonde first used it, they slowly gained ground on the enemy. Right now they were going up against a small group of aliens that refused to back down. Diana was blocking the aliens' laser fire with her bracelets, and acting as a shield for the others. The Amazon princess was about to move back out of the line of fire, when three kunai, one of Fox's weapons of choice Diana had discovered, flew from behind her at the invaders. These, she noticed with her keen eyes, were different from the ones she had seen him and his clones use before, as these had three blades rather than just one and a thicker hilt than the other kunai with something written on them. The kunai landed near the invaders, and for a moment Diana thought that her new comrade had missed, when suddenly there were three consecutive flashes of familiar blinding yellow light followed by the sound of some things hitting the ground, all in less than a second. Once Diana could see properly again, she was witness to Fox standing over the downed forms of the invaders they were facing. What was that? Diana asked the blonde hero. Harem, Naruto replied, picking up the tri-pronged kunai. It's a technique recreated by my father. It allows me to transport instantly to wherever one of these markers are located, he told her, holding out the kunai by the ring at the end so that she could see the sealing array on the hilt. Magic? The raven-haired Amazon warrior questioned, gazing at the strange characters curiously. Something like that, Naruto said, not wanting to go into the schematics of sealing at that moment. Batman, while Fox and Diana were talking, had been gazing where the invaders' prone bodies lay. By the way they've been fighting, he started, drawing the others' attention to him. It is almost like they are trying to force us to a certain location, the hero from Gotham reasoned. What do you think, John? Batman asked, asking the person with the most experience dealing with the white aliens, only not to receive an answer from the Martian, who seemed to be staring blankly ahead, his eyes glowing slightly. John? The Dark Knight asked as he and the other two looked at the last Martian. Eventually John came out of his trance. Superman and Hawkgirl are down, he informed them. They have failed. What? Naruto said, surprised. Batman frowning at the news. Are you sure? Diana asked. I can sense it, John told them grimly. This way, hurry. He urged them, leading them down a hallway, just as the room they were in began to be sealed off. Running deeper into the factory, a door opened behind them, revealing more aliens, who started to fire on them. Falling behind, Naruto stopped for a second to create 5 shadow clones to act as distractions and engage the enemy before he ran to catch up with the others, arriving in time to see them enter a hole on an upper level. Jumping up, Naruto was met by the three heroes. "I've bought us a few minutes," Naruto told them. "My shadow clones will keep them busy for now. Then we should prepare ourselves for when they eventually find us," Batman decided, pulling out electric knuckle from his utility belt and putting them on. "Look," John said, drawing the others' attention, "it's the central core." The team of four had entered a large room with many of the invaders working diligently. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew how to do the same thing, Naruto would have been surprised when he saw some of them working upside down or on the wall, acting as if they weren't standing on the wall or roof. At the center of the room there was a single platform that held a rock-like object that floated in some sort of orange-colored energy. "How can we shut it down?" Batman asked John. "The ion matrix crystal," John answered, pointing at the rock-like object. "If we can remove that, we'll shut down the whole plant. It'll need a diversion," he stated. "No problem," Naruto said confidently, forming a familiar cross-shaped hand seal. "Diversions are one of my specialties, shadow clone jutsu." The shinobi called, his form obscured by a cloud of smoke before a number of clones shot out of the cloud of smoke to fight some of the alien invaders. Naruto, refusing to let his clones do all the work and have all the fun, joined them, tearing through one invader at the other with either a Rasengan or Taijutsu. At the same time, Batman threw one of his batarangs that sliced through a pipe and causing black sludge to fall on two of the invaders. Diana wasn't idle as she pulled at another part of the organic-looking factory, causing it to detach as smoke started to fill the room. With the aliens otherwise occupied, John shifted through the floor and made his way to the ion core. The last Martian had just pulled the core out of the energy field that it was contained in when he was shot from behind by some of the enemy reinforcements. Dropping the ion core, John fell to the ground, barely being able to retain consciousness. "John!" Diana shouted in concern, tossing two invaders off almost effortlessly before flying through another one. Sadly, the white aliens' abilities made it so that they could reform their bodies from such injuries. "Get him out," Batman ordered once the Amazon princess landed next to John, tossing an alien that jumped on his back at two of its comrades. Beside him, the original Naruto smashed a Rasengan into the chest of one alien before spinning around and landing a chakra-enhanced kick on another. Doing as instructed, Diana easily lifted the large Martian thanks to her super strength. Behind her, two aliens fell from above with their weapons ready to stop her, only for them themselves to be assaulted by a pair of Naruto's clones, giving the princess enough time to fly towards the exit just as it started to close unopposed. Seeing their only way out being sealed up, Batman rushed towards the exit. Batman with the use of his grappling gun and Fox simply running towards the exit, but not before the Dark Knight picked up the ion matrix crystal. Landing near the closing door, Batman realized they wouldn't make it in time, as did Naruto. Acting quickly, the blonde hero grabbed Batman's free hand before spinning around and tossing him towards the exit, getting the caped crusader on the other side, along with the ion crystal, just before it closed. Realizing what happened, Batman picked himself up and spun himself around to face the closing door. "Fox!" he shouted, seeing the door close on the Fox-themed hero just as he reached it. On the other side, Fox turned to face the enclosing invaders, each of them holding a laser gun in their hands. Despite the situation that he found himself in, Naruto couldn't feel an ounce of fear or anxiety. He had faced off against things far worse than the situation that he currently found himself in. If Naruto was perfectly honest with himself, without being arrogant in the slightest way, he could destroy this entire factory in a matter of seconds on his own, so a few aliens wouldn't be a challenge. In the words of a certain undead bastard, Naruto began, his face shadowed so that only his glowing blue eyes could be seen, as he calmly walked towards the invaders, his calm aura actually managing to unnerve some of his opponents, a sensation they were not used to feeling. "You want to dance?" With Diana and the others, the Amazon rushed towards the door, prepared to punch it open once she realized that Fox had made it through. Sadly, before she could do anything, the sound of laser fire blasting against the door, along with indentations on the organic wall, caused her to stop. "Number!" she shouted in fear. The sound of something slicing through the air caused her to turn her head enough to see the batarang with the Harem seal on it to embed itself into the wall beside her. For a moment, Diana expected Fox to appear in another flash, maybe a little worse for wear but at least very much alive, but then that moment passed and nothing happened. "There is nothing more we can do for him," John said somberly. "You don't mean he's..." Diana trailed off at the end, turning to face him. "Gone," John finished as Batman retrieved his batarang silently, standing at the door afterwards. A look of sadness appeared on Diana's face at John's statement, as she turned her attention back to the door that cut them off from their comrade. Hera, help us, the Amazon prayed. A few hours later Batman, Diana, and John were standing on top of one of Metropolis' many skyscrapers, looking down at the destroyed city and its rioting people. Some were robbing stores while others attacked their fellow man. Perhaps Mother was right about mankind, Diana said, staring at the people in disappointment. These were the people that Fox willingly sacrificed his life for. At the moment they hardly seem worth his sacrifice in her eyes. They are nothing but untamed savages, she decided. Do not judge them too harshly, John advised her. They act out of fear. Looking back down at the people, Diana could see a few who were trying to help others, paying no care for their own safety. Examples of these people were two men who were trying to move some rubble in order to rescue some children that were trapped and were asking for help. The blue-eyed princess was about to go down there and help them when the rubble was surrounded by green energy that Diana recognized came from Green Lantern's ring. A few minutes later the three heroes were joined by Flash and Green Lantern. Sorry we're late, Lantern apologized. Had to stop and help some civilians, he explained. That's fine, Batman dismissed. It's good you two are here. We have a situation, he stated. Well, what did you call us back for? Flash asked. Flash and Green Lantern had been placed on the same team and been sent to the Amazons, so that Flash got his wish, just not the way he expected. Either way things hadn't been going well for them either. Superman and Hawkgirl have been captured, Diana answered. They're trapped somewhere inside there. She finished, pointing at the alien factory a little off in the distance, the smoke coming out of the plant and the lighting flashing around it making an ominous image. Whoa, Flash said. And where's Fox? Green Lantern asked, having noticed the blonde's absence. For a few seconds those who had been teamed with Fox remained silent. He acted heroically, till the very end, John eventually said. What? Flash said disbelievingly. Fox is gone. He could hardly believe it. The blue-eyed hero seemed so strong and confident of himself that it seemed impossible that he could really be dead. We never even got the chance to see who is fastest, Flash said sadly. He was a true warrior, Diana said softly. This is not good. Definitely not good, Lantern said, looking at the factory. No kidding, Flash muttered. Superman captured and Fox dead. Things aren't looking good for us. That's enough, Batman said evenly. What happened to Fox is tragic, but we can't stop right now to mourn his death. We still have a job to do until then. We'll just have to move on. Diana glared at the Caped Crusader a bit for his remark. Fox was your comrade, wasn't he? The princess asked him. How can you just ignore his death so casually? He died saving you. Because, Batman replied, not visibly affected by the glare Diana was sending him. I knew Fox, and I know that the last thing he would want us to do is mourn his death when there are people that need to be protected. The two glared at each other for a while longer before Diana backed down, knowing there were other matters to attend to. Now let's move out. The heroes moved closer to the factory that had first fallen in Metropolis, the area around it completely cleared out by the alien walkers. I can't believe we are doing this again, Flash whispered from where they were hiding. If Superman and Hawkgirl are in there, someone has to rescue them, Green Lantern told him before turning to look at John. You are sure that they are still in there, aren't you? He asked unsurely. Yes, John replied after a few seconds. Your friends are alive, but we must act quickly. The Imperium is coming. The who? Flash asked, confused. The supreme intelligence that commands these invaders, John informed them. We have met before. Right, we're going in, Lantern decided. Flash, create a diversion. Diana, watch my back. You want to rely on an amateur? She asked him with a smirk on her face, as a frown appeared on Green Lantern's. While Flash drew the walker's attention, eventually causing it to step on a landmine and blow off one of its legs. The others made their way to the hole that Superman and Hawkgirl originally made, John taking Batman's arm and flying him up. Once inside, John began to lead them towards where he sensed Superman and Hawkgirl were being held, Flash joining them soon enough. On their way to where Superman and Hawkgirl were being held, the team of heroes ran into a couple of guards, though John easily dealt with them with a combination of his transformation and phasing powers. When they finally reached where John sensed where Superman and Hawkgirl were being held, Green Lantern used his ring to make an opening in the wall that stood in their way. Once Lantern finished cutting through the wall, it revealed an unconscious Superman and Hawkgirl being held upside down. Quickly the heroes made their way towards their downed comrades. Hanging back, Batman looked around. Something doesn't seem right, he muttered suspiciously. There were no guards in the room and they had failed to meet anyone on their way there besides the first two guards. John looked at Batman, having heard what he said, before his solid orange eyes widened in realization. Wait. He shouted to the others, but it was already too late as the room once more sealed itself and gas started to fill the room. In a matter of seconds the heroes were rendered unconscious, but not without the Superman and Hawkgirl in the room first revealing themselves to be invaders that had shapeshifted their appearance. When the heroes finally regained consciousness, they found themselves in a large room, their hands and feet encased in an organic material that they couldn't break through. John, wake up, Superman urged the last Martian, as he and the others finally became aware of their surroundings. You shouldn't have risked your lives for us, the Man of Steel stated. Like you wouldn't have done the same thing, Batman accused the last son of Krypton with a smirk on his face, from where he was being held a little above and to the left of Superman. Superman looked at Batman strangely. He had known the Caped Crusader for a few years now and something about him just seemed off to the Kryptonian. Before he could determine what that was, his attention was drawn by the sound of a male voice. Earth's mightiest heroes, welcome, one of the invaders said, stepping away from the other white aliens, his form changing to Senator J. Alan Carter, former astronaut and the man responsible for convincing the United Nations to disarm all nuclear missiles. Senator Carter, Superman muttered. Unfortunately, the fake Carter began, the real Carter never returned from Mars. Which probably explains why there wasn't any sort of information leak from the government, Batman theorized, because there was never any report of life on Mars. The other astronaut that went to Mars with Carter was probably killed and replaced as well, the Dark Knight reasoned. Excellent deduction, Carter replied, only the slightest bit impressed. I guess there is a reason you were called the world's greatest detective. Thanks for the compliment, Batman thanked the alien, but you got something wrong. At that moment warning bells were sounding off in Superman's head. The Batman he knew was nothing like this, but he would have to confront the Dark Knight about it later. Right now he had to stay focused. And you used me to weaken the Earth's defenses, the Man of Steel accused. You were so eager to cooperate, Carter said mockingly. Thanks to you the humans were completely helpless against us. It's not over yet, Superman said as he once more tried to break free from his restraints but found himself still too weak to do so. That's where you're wrong, Superman, Carter replied, a panel rising up from the ground that the faker senator pressed in order to open the ceiling above them. In the distance they could see a large alien ship high in the sky above them before a smaller black ship made its way towards them. All hail the Imperium, Carter declared as he and the other invaders bowed. From the ship a purple jellyfish-like alien descended. It had many tentacles with no real face. Its body was mostly transparent while its insides were a chaotic mess of dark smoke-like substance and a few other colors. Johns, it's been a long time, the Imperium greeted the last Martian, with a simple gesture being able to manipulate where John was being held to come closer to him before being released. Before the John could do anything, some of the invader soldiers carrying spears came forward and proceeded to shock the Martian until he reverted to his true form and fell to the ground. Much better, the Imperium said, sounding pleased, you have defied us for centuries. And I will not bow before you or any of your kind, John said, speaking telepathically with the purple alien, as he stood defiantly before the other alien. Then we'll personally see to finishing what should have been accomplished long ago, the Imperium said, its tentacles moving toward John. The elimination of the last Martian. It finished, but just before it was going to send its tentacles to impale John and dig under his green skin, the Imperium was interrupted by the sound of someone's voice. Man, you are ugly, Batman said, drawing everyone's attention. I understand why you would want to steal the Martian's ability to shapeshift if that's what you look like, he stated with a wide grin on his head. Okay, Flash began warily as he looked at Batman. Either I am still loopy from that gas or the bats lost it. The others, with the exception of one, were thinking along the same lines. How dare you insult me? The Imperium said, outraged. You who are nothing but a mere human. It continued, saying the word human with plenty of venom in his voice. Know your place. Oh, who is going to make me? You, Batman asked him challengingly. I'll turn your brain to mush, the Imperium declared. Try it, Batman challenged. Batman, what are you doing? Superman shouted, coming out of his stupor at how the Dark Knight was acting. Relax, Supes, Batman replied calmly as Superman's eyes widened in realization. The Imperium made a gesture with his tentacles and like with John, Batman was moved closer to the alien, its tentacles drawing closer to Batman's face. If it, and the other invaders, hadn't been so focused on the hero from Gotham, he would have seen the smirk that appeared on John's face. Show me everything human, the Imperium ordered, all your memories, secrets, fears, and sorrows. It finished, placing two of its tentacles against the side of Batman's head as it tried to delve into his mind. For a few silent seconds everyone watched as the Imperium used its telepathic powers on Batman, but those seconds seemed to last for hours. Then those few seconds passed and the Imperium let out a terrified scream as it backed away from Batman almost desperately. What are you? It shouted almost fearfully. What's the matter? Batman asked Foe innocently. It almost seems you were scared by a monster, or at least the memory of a monster. If the Imperium had a face, it would be staring at Batman fearfully. When it had entered the masked vigilante's mind, it found itself in a memory, and it was a memory of that much it was sure, but even as a memory it experienced fear like no other. It saw a swear, and from a gate of opened iron doors appeared blood-red slighted eyes and razor-sharp fangs that were bigger than the alien was. Even though it was a mere memory, the Imperium was assaulted with an impending sense of death like none it had ever experienced before. With all the other aliens scrambling to their master's side, John was able to recover and pick himself up off the floor. Changing into his superhero form as he did, grabbing one of the Imperium's tentacles, John spun around through the other telepathic alien into some of its followers. With everyone distracted, Batman shouted, now!" Before an explosion happened above them. Looking up, everyone saw a second Batman standing over where the Ion Matrix core was being held. "Batman," Flash said, confused. "It can't be," Diana said, looking from the Batman that stood over the Ion Matrix to the one that was being held with them, only for him to be obscured by smoke. When the smoke cleared, it revealed Fox. But how? The Amazonian princess wondered, dumbfounded by the fact that the hero that she believed died was alive and well. Acting quickly, Batman placed a machine on the Matrix core, changing it from red to blue, and soon everything it was connected to was turning blue as well. "What have you done?" Carter demanded. "Reversed the ion charge," Batman replied calmly, pulling out a grappling gun. "The crystal, destroy it," the Imperium ordered before the white aliens opened fire on the crystal, only to see it protected. "Everything is going according to plan, I see," Naruto muttered before he started to summon his chakra. Chakra flared to life around him, starting off small and growing in size, resembling a column of translucent blue flames. "Am I the only one having a DBZ flashback?" Flash asked with a smile on his face. "Quick, someone find a scouter, see if he's over 9,000 yet." Outside, a beam of light shot out of the factory into the clouds above before they slowly started to disperse, revealing the blue sky above and allowing sunlight to enter the room where everyone was being held. Seeing the sunlight entering the room, the white aliens scrambled to hide under the shadow of the ship that the Imperium had arrived in. Breaking free, Naruto went to help the others, as did Batman, starting with Diana. "How?" the princess asked, as Naruto pulled out a kunai and started to free her while adding fire chakra to the small knife. "I thought," she trailed off. "It was a plan that Batman and I came up with," Naruto explained. "I was to take his place while he studied the Ion Matrix core and prepared a counterattack against the aliens," he told her, managing to free one of her arms in the meantime. "If things turned bad, I would be able to catch the invaders by surprise and use that to our advantage to get everyone out." "But when did you come up with it?" Diana questioned him. "While you were rushing ahead of us. It was easy to tell John of the plan through telepathy once we were separated," Fox replied, a smirk appearing under his mask. "I told you before that now that you were a hero you'd have to think differently, but there will be times when it is better to act instead of sit back and wait. I was a shinobi before I was a hero. Deceit and deception was part of my life. I still use that at times as a hero." While Naruto and Diana were talking, Superman felt his strength returning to him now that he was under the sun's ultraviolet rays. With his power returning, Superman used his heat vision to free himself. Batman in the meantime had pulled out a mini laser and began to free Flash. "Ultraviolet rays. Coming from the depths of space, the invaders have no resistance to our sun's radiation," the Dark Knight informed everyone. "Destroy them," the Imperium ordered before his soldiers opened fire on the heroes. With one arm freed, Diana brought one of her arms around Naruto's back. unintentionally bringing the masked shinobi closer to her bountiful chest and making his cheeks redden, to block some of the laser fire that was aimed at him. Once freed, Superman lifted some of the structure at Carter and the other aliens had been previously standing on to act as a shield from their weapons. Turning around, Superman used his heat vision to free the still-trapped heroes. John once more grabbed the Imperium's tentacles, pulling it out from the shadows. "You live underground and shun the light," John stated, pulling the Imperium into the sunlight, its skin starting to boil and fester. "Why? Does it burn your peeled putrid skin?" he asked as the Imperium screamed in agony. "That is one nasty sunburn," Flash commented, a disgusted look appearing on his face. "So you were able to find a weakness after all," Diana said, freeing her trapped arm. "Yup," Naruto replied, "and I was able to get some friends to help us out," he told them. The others were wondering what he meant, possibly what other heroes he was able to contact. When a giant knife cut into the ceiling before a pair of webbed hands replaced it and forced the ceiling open, allowing more sunlight to enter. The extra light forced the aliens to run for cover, a few unlucky ones falling over and melting in the sunlight. When the heroes could see what caused it, it was honestly the last thing most of them expected to see. It was a large orange toad with blue markings around his eyes and mouth. It had a blue vest, a sphere tied around its neck, and a cigarette in its mouth. "Man, and I thought I've seen everything," Flash mumbled in awe. "That is one big frog." "Toad," Naruto said, a grin appearing under his mask. "He's a toad, not a frog," Fox corrected before waving at the giant toad. "Hey Kichi," he greeted his longtime friend. "Yo Aniki," Gamakichi replied, further shocking everyone. "Man, I still can't believe how big you've gotten," Naruto said. "Well, that's what happens when you don't see someone for a few years," Kichi retorted before looking over his shoulder. "Why did you summon us? These guys aren't that strong," the toad summon pointed out. "Pops isn't going to like that you summoned us just for these guys." Behind him, Gamakichi could see his father, Gamabunta, along with Gamaken and Gamahiro lazing about while alien walkers were laid at their feet. Kichi could see his father's eye twitching in annoyance. As he left, his knife stabbed into the front of one of the alien walkers. Naruto rubbed the back of his head awkwardly at the news. He was going to have to apologize to the chief toad with lots of barrels of sake. With everyone freed, the heroes quickly went on the offensive, each one using their specific abilities to take down as many aliens as possible. Gamakichi even helped a bit by creating a few more holes in the ceiling. Naruto was tearing through the invaders effortlessly. They had no training and relied heavily on both their superior numbers and their laser guns. With Naruto's superior speed and chakra-enhanced kunai, he cut down one invader after the other using Rasengan to take down multiple opponents. After taking down a small group of invaders, Naruto noticed that John was shocked by the Imperium, the squid-like alien sending electricity through its tentacles, before falling to the ground as the Imperium made its escape. The blonde hero was somewhat happy to see the fake Carter being knocked away before turning to a puddle of white goo as it tried to escape with the Imperium. Naruto wasn't the only one to see the Imperium trying to make its escape as Diana hooked the back of the ship that it was escaping it with her lasso, slowing it down from taking off with her incredible strength. Sadly, a laser back from the back of the ship forced Diana to release her hold in order to block the laser. Seeing that Diana was forced to let go, Hawkgirl flew up to the ship and began to smash her mace into it, the force it exerted and the electricity the mace released being enough to slow it down until Diana could grab her lasso and stop it completely. "Kichi, let's go," Naruto said, jumping onto the roof of the factory before jumping onto Gamakichi's head. "Why Aniki?" Gamakichi asked as he looked up at the two heroines. "They seem to have it handled." "We're not going after that ship," Naruto replied, creating a shadow clone and pulling out a Hiraishin kunai before throwing it towards Gamabunta, the shadow clone disappearing in a yellow flash. "We're going after that one," Fox finished, pointing at the larger ship that hovered high in the sky. Seeing the ship that Naruto was aiming for, a smirk appeared on Gamakichi's face. "Right," the summon animal said before jumping towards it, out of the corner of his eyes noticing that his father had also jumped towards the large alien ship. Diana and Hawkgirl had just finished destroying the ship that the Imperium had escaped in when a giant shadow enveloped the Amazon princess before it was gone. Turning around, the Diana saw that the source of the large shadow was the giant toad that Fox had called Kichi that had jumped over her, Fox riding on his head. In the distance she could see another giant toad also take to the sky. this one's appearance similar to the one that Naruto was riding on, only that its skin was a rusty red. Once they reached the large alien ship, Naruto started to go through some hand signs. "Kichi, give me some oil," Naruto called. Across from them on the other side of the ship the shinobi could see Gamabunta, his clone standing in head, the toad's cheeks puffing out. "You got it, Aniki," Gamakichi replied, his own cheeks filling with oil before releasing it in a torrent at the same time that Gamabunta did. Performing the last hand seal, Naruto called out the name of the jutsu, fire style, Toad Flame Bomb. Before releasing a stream of fire from his mouth that combined with Gamakichi's oil, their actions mirrored by Gamabunta and Naruto's clone, till the flames raged all over the ship. In a matter of seconds the ship was consumed by twin torrents of fire before it finally exploded. Within the destroyed alien factory, rubble was falling everywhere, Flash having to save Batman when the ship that the Imperium had arrived in fell through the roof. Seeing that the place was falling apart, Flash suggested that it was time for them to leave. "Not without them," Superman replied, flying over toward where some people were being held in some type of pods, all of them unconscious. "Then we need to hurry," Naruto said, having returned in time to see Superman release the civilians from their pods and knock out two aliens that had aimed their weapons at the Man of Steel. With the use his shadow clones, Naruto helped the others gather the civilians before Lantern used his ring to transport them all out safely. With the civilians safe, the heroes began to make their way out of the exploding factory. Superman and John carried Flash and Batman respectively. Naruto was jumping up toward the ceiling when he felt his hand be grabbed by someone. Looking to his side revealed that the person to be Diana. "I've got you," she told him with a smile before she proceeded to fly him out. Landing outside, Naruto and the others enjoyed the sight of the alien factory blowing up before a tremor threatened to knock them all over. The source of the tremor was the giant toad that landed next to the heroes. "Gaki," Gamabunta said, obviously annoyed. "Oh, hey boss," Naruto greeted the chief toad nervously. "You mind explaining why, after years, you decided to summon me for these pushovers?" Gamabunta asked. Naruto muttered, unsure how to answer. The following weeks consisted of destroying whatever troops remained of the invaders on Earth, either as a team or separately. Gamabunta and the other summons even stayed a bit longer to help, a condition that Naruto offered to appease Bunta along with plenty of kegs of alcohol from this world. It was not long after that Naruto got a call from Batman in order to show him something. "This is amazing," Fox said, looking down at the Earth beside Superman, as he stood within a space station that looked like a castle. It was mind-blowing, the difference in technology between the elemental nations and Earth. Naruto never expected to be out in space when he was growing up. Of course his mind was so filled with thoughts of being Hokage that he hardly thought of much else. "I'll say," Superman said in agreement. He had seen the Earth from outer space more than once, but the Man of Steel didn't think he could ever get tired of the beautiful sight that the Earth provided. "Do your stockholders know about this, Bruce?" he asked, looking to his left as Batman approached the two heroes. "A line item hidden in the aerospace R&D budget," Batman replied, taking a look around the station for himself. "Must be nice to be rich," Naruto commented, tearing his sight away from the Earth. "I can't complain," Batman said with a smirk before he started to explain the purpose of the space station. "This watchtower will act as an early warning system for detecting other threats of invasion from outer space," the Dark Knight explained, just in time for Diana and Flash to arrive through the elevator. "Not to mention a fully stocked kitchen," Flash added happily. "Ice mocha?" he offered. "No thanks," Superman answered, Naruto refusing as well. Diana drank from hers and enjoyed the taste. "They don't have these on Themyscira," she commented lightly. "Trust me, princess." Naruto began appearing next to the Amazon, and getting indignant shout from Flash for cutting him off. "That's just the tip of the iceberg. If you like that stuff, you'll just love ramen. Just stick around and I'll show you where you can get some of the best food in the world." "Perhaps I will," Diana replied. "Speaking of ramen," Fox continued as he looked towards Batman. "No," Batman said before Fox could get a word out. "But I didn't even say anything," Naruto complained. "I have a pretty good guess," Batman stated. Even with his wealth, there was a real chance of him ending broke if he offered to fund Naruto's ramen addiction. "Impressive installation." Green Lantern's voice came from above them. "Hawkgirl and him having taken a look of the upper levels. Most impressive, but what's it got to do with us?" Superman took that as his signal to explain his idea. "I once thought I could protect the world by myself, but I was wrong, Superman admitted. Working together we saved the planet, and I believe that if we stayed together as a team we would be a force that could truly work for the ideals of peace and justice. What? Flash asked with a smile, like a bunch of super friends. He joked. Naruto snorted. Nothing so lame, he answered. Right, Superman agreed, I was thinking more along the lines of a Justice League. Still kind of lame soups, Naruto deadpanned before shrugging his shoulders, but it's not like I have anything better to do. He continued, taking off his hood to reveal his sun-kissed spiky blonde hair, something that drew Diana's attention for a bit, but leaving his face mask on. To the others, I am in. Fox finished sticking his hand out and Superman placing his own over it. Flash was the first one to step forward. With all of us behind it, it just might work, count me in, Flash said, putting his hand forward. Green Lantern and Hawkgirl. My mother might not approve, Diana began hesitantly, but I find Mom's world to be intriguing. I'll gladly join, she finished as she joined the others. Well, Bats? Naruto asked, looking at the only hero present that hadn't said anything. I am not really a people person, Batman said evenly, but when you need help, and you will, call me, he told them. Understood, Superman said, knowing his friend well enough. Then we are all agreed. Wait, John's not here, Diana said suddenly, not seeing the green Martian. Naruto was the first one to spot the Martian high above them. With the tiniest bit of chakra, Naruto jumped all the way up to the platform, leaving the others in stunned. Can he fly? Flash asked Superman, breaking the silence. No, Superman replied, just jump very high up. Like entire skyscrapers in a single bound, Flash joked. Naruto landed behind John, who was looking off into space. What's wrong, John? Naruto asked concernedly. My family and loved ones are long gone, John replied solemnly. I am the last of my kind. Mars is dead, and I am alone in the universe. I am sorry for your loss, John, Naruto said truthfully, a sad look appearing in his eyes. I can't even pretend to know what you are going through, the shinobi continued, but I know that you are not alone. Superman understands what you are feeling, being one of the last of his people. I am cut off from my world, unable to return and see the people who I consider my friends and family, but Earth has become Superman's and my home. It could be yours too, John, and while we aren't related by blood, that doesn't mean this team can't be family, Naruto finished confidently. John stared at Naruto for a moment before a smile appeared on his face and nodded his head before they went down and joined the others. Naruto stood on the edge of a skyscraper in his fox costume, looking down at a random city before leaning forward and letting himself fall over the edge. For a moment Naruto let himself enjoy the sensation of falling as wind swept through his sun-kissed blonde hair, before he flipped himself around and disappeared in a yellow flash, the people in the city not being given enough time to even register that it looked like someone was falling to their death. When Naruto reappeared in another yellow flash, he landed in a crouch, his hood once more covering his wild blonde hair, and then he shot off across a rooftop. The scenery around him completely different from what it was a few seconds ago. Unlike most heroes who based themselves in one city, and occasionally ventured out to others if it proved necessary, with his father's Hiraishin, Naruto could warp to any city that he had tagged with the Hiraishin seal, allowing travel across the country in a matter of seconds. As such, Naruto wasn't based in a single city and instead went where he thought he could help. At the moment things seemed to be pretty quiet, at least nothing that needed him to get involved with. So Naruto was taking this time to relax a little. It had been about a month since the parasite-like aliens invaded and the Justice League was formed, and things had started to return to normal. Or whatever classified as normal in a world filled with superheroes and villains. Currently the League members were either out on assignment, Superman, in their chosen cities, Batman, or monitoring things from Watchtower, John, Hawkgirl, and Flash, Diana, or as the media had started to call her, Wonder Woman, was out exploring the world and getting accustomed to it. Fox. Well, that didn't last long, Naruto thought, using 2 fingers to activate the earpiece in his left ear that acted as his communicator for the Justice League. Fox here, what's the situation, John? The Fox-themed hero asked, looking up to the sky as if he could see his green-skinned comrade. We have 3 unknowns from space currently making their way to where we have determined to be the city of Detroit, the Martian informed. Hawkgirl, Flash, and I are currently en route to intercept them. Detroit, Naruto repeated. Isn't that Green Lantern's home city? Do you think it has something to do with him? He asked. Because Green Lantern didn't hide his identity like most heroes did, it was made common knowledge among the League where the dark-skinned man was from. It is uncertain, John replied. We have been unable to get in contact with him. All right, I'll be right there, Naruto said. Understood, the Martian Manhunter answered before cutting the connection. Using the Harem, Naruto appeared in Detroit. Since forming the Justice League, Naruto had made sure that he had a few Harem markers in both Detroit and Central City, the home city of Green Lantern and Flash respectively, in case he ever needed to get either city quickly. Like he had done beforehand with both Gotham and Metropolis. Closing his eyes, Naruto tried to sense any strange chakra in the area. The people of Earth did in fact possess chakra, or more specifically just plain life energy, as Naruto had discovered, but it was so small and insignificant that Naruto had to be actively searching for chakra to even sense it. At the moment he couldn't feel anything out of the ordinary. So either these guys have no chakra or they are machines, Naruto theorized. Luckily the shinobi was saved from having to search the entire city when he spotted the Javelin, a white ship designed to travel both in space and undersea. To the east of him, with his direction decided, Naruto took off across the rooftops. Fox arrived in time to see Flash lying on the ground with what looked like a robot with a mostly red-colored body with blue gloves and boots and holding a staff in its hands. Above him, a quick look around revealed that there was a total of 3 of them, forming a Rasengan. Fox ran at the alien machine, Rasengan. The spiraling sphere of destruction slammed into the metal mont's midsection as the sound of metal being grinded into was heard throughout the area before the unknown enemy was sent flying back. Turning to Flash, Fox helped the red speedster back to his feet. Thanks for the save, Flash thanked. No problem. Unlike a certain self-proclaimed fastest man in the world, I am not usually late, Fox joked good-naturedly before turning serious. So do we know what these guys want? Or who they are? Fox asked. No clue on who they are, Flash replied with a frown, but they are looking GL, he finished. The two heroes' conversation was cut short when the other 2 robots opened fire on them using their staffs and the 2 were forced to dodge. Hawkgirl flew in from above and managed to hit one of the robots with her mace. She swung around and tried to attack a second but was stopped by the machine using its staff to block her attack before using the end of it to blast her away with a discharge of what looked like electricity and through a window of a restaurant. The 3 robots then regrouped with one another and continued their search, unconcerned with the people and things around them. Seeing Hawkgirl taken down, Flash rushed the group of 3, but one of them suddenly holding out its staff was enough to see him knocked off his feet and landing painfully on his back. Fox pulled out some kunai and threw it at them, but like expected none of the robots did anything to block the attack. That's why Fox had a smirk beneath his mask as the last kunai landed at the feet of the robot that was leading his group, an explosion tag burning away. Ka-boom. That smirk soon turned into a scowl as the 3 robots walked out of the blazing inferno undaunted. A recovered Hawkgirl tried to attack the leader, but it simply raised its staff above its head, burying it in Hawkgirl's stomach, shocking her in the process before slamming her into the hood of a car. The alien machine stood over Hawkgirl, its staff poised to strike. Luckily for Hawkgirl, something smashed into the robot and drove it into the side of a building. That something turned out to be the Man of Steel himself. Holding the robot up against the building, Superman was about to punch it when he felt something hit his back that stung. Turning around, the black-haired hero caught a brief glance of one of the robots holding its staff pointed out at him with its tip smoking a bit before a strong steady blast was unleashed. Fighting against the stream of energy, Superman steadily made his way to the robot that was firing on him until he was close enough to reach out with his arms and wrench the staff out of the machine's hands before destroying it completely and proceeding to pick up the robot and toss it at its recovering companion. Hey, we thought you were busy with an earthquake, Flash pointed out as he appeared behind the Man of Steel. It was just a 4-0, Superman answered before looking over at the 2 downed robots. You mind telling me what's going on here? Flash opened his mouth to answer, but a flash from behind them stopped him from saying anything. When they didn't feel any pain whatsoever, the 2 heroes turned around to see Fox standing between them and the 3rd robot with a Harem kunai held between his hands as he blocked a shot from the alien robot. You guys should really be more careful, Fox warned them as John flew down from the sky and smashed the robot into the car that it had been standing on before he jumped off and the car exploded. The Martian was walking away from the wreckage, not seeing the robot emerge from under the destroyed car, easily lifting it over its head and throwing it at John. John! Flash shouted, dashing off and moving John out of the way of the car. In contrast, Superman didn't hesitate to move into the path of the destroyed car and stop it with minimal effort. Unfortunately, it was at that moment the car exploded in a fiery inferno. The two opposing groups squared off, each getting ready to attack the other. A Rasengan in the palm of Fox's hand, Superman ready to use his heat vision, and the alien robots getting ready to fire their laser staves. Just as Superman and the robots opened fire, a wall made of green energy appeared between the two groups. "Stop," a voice ordered seriously. From a cloud of smoke, Green Lantern appeared, revealing himself to be the source of the wall. Landing on the ground between the two groups, Green Lantern had a grim look on his face. "Better late than never," Flash said with a smirk on his face. While the others seemed slightly more relieved to see Lantern, Fox could tell that something was wrong, and he was only surer of his theory when Green Lantern walked up to the group of 3 robots and they looked at him expectantly. "You are the Green Lantern known as John Stewart." The leader, who Naruto noticed with a fair bit of satisfaction, was the robot that he had slammed his Rasengan into. If the slight spiral marking was any indication, asked monotonously. "I am," Green Lantern answered simply. "Your ring?" the robot asked, holding out its hand. With a pained look on his face, Lantern took off his ring and handed it over. "What are you doing?" Flash demanded, not believing what he was seeing. "Stay out of this," Green Lantern snapped, looking at the gathered heroes from over his shoulder before turning back to face the robots. "You will come with us," the lead robot said as his companion put large metal cuffs on John before they all disappeared in a beam of light that came from the sky, leaving behind a group of stunned League members. "Watchtower. I sense turmoil, a heavy heart," John said to the others as he looked away from a window that overlooked the Earth, informing the others about Green Lantern's state thanks to the psychic that the Martian had with each of the League members. "I could have told you that," Flash muttered loudly. Naruto wasn't going to say it out loud, but he could have also told the group that, his empathy ability letting him pick up a lot of self-loathing from John from the moment that he arrived. "He's looking at stars," John continued, ignoring Flash's comment. "But which stars?" Superman asked, flying over to a control panel that showed a large holographic map of the universe. The others joined him when he brought it up, John looking at map carefully for the stars that Green Lantern was currently looking at. There, John pointed up a group of stars that matched the ones that he saw as Superman brought it up. "Ajuris 5, the Man of Steel read out loud. "Okay, so we know where he is," Hawkgirl started, "but do we know why he's there to begin with?" She finished, looking at the others expectantly. "It has to be about something that happened while he was away from Earth," Fox pointed out. For the last few years, Hal Jordan had been the Green Lantern that monitored the sector that Earth was in until a few months ago when he was reassigned and John Stewart took over. "We just don't know what it is. We can ask him once get to Ajuris 5, Superman decided. "Let's go," he finished as he and the others, with the exception of Fox, started to leave. "Actually," Fox began, causing everyone to stop and look back at him, "I think it might be better that I stay here." "What? Why?" Hawkgirl asked curiously. "Yeah, Fox, Lantern needs us," Flash told him. "I know and I want to help him," Fox replied, holding his hands in front of him in his own defense, "but I got a few reasons to stay here. One, I don't think it's a good idea to leave Batman and Diana to look after the Earth on their own so soon after the Justice League was formed. Plus, with my shadow clones, I can keep an eye on all the monitors in case anything does come up." Fox explained his reasoning, getting the others to agree with his reasoning. A smirk appeared on Flash's face. "Are you sure you don't just want to use this chance to spend some quality time with our Amazon princess?" Flash teased his friend and rival for the title of fastest man in the world. With a roll of her eyes, Hawkgirl started pushing Flash in the direction of the elevator that would take them to the hangar, John following silently behind the pair. The Man of Steel watched his departing comrades with a smile on his face before returning his attention back to Fox. "All right, well, see you when we get back," the Kryptonian said before continuing. "Would you mind helping keeping an eye on Metropolis while I am away?" he asked. A wide grin spread across Fox's face, although Superman couldn't see it unless he used his X-ray vision. Instantly figuring out what the Man of Steel was really asking, "Sure," Fox replied. "I've been meaning to visit and this gives me the perfect reason," the shinobi hero decided before pulling out a Harem kunai and tossing it to the Man of Steel. "Here, take this just in case you need my help," Fox added before he and Superman said their goodbyes so that Superman could catch up with the others. Metropolis. Fox looked down at the city called the City of Tomorrow from where he sat atop the globe of the Daily Planet. doing his best not to draw attention to himself or risk having a certain reporter badger him for an interview. No matter what city Fox visited in the U.S., he had to admit there were few like Metropolis, and the city was deserving of its title as the City of Tomorrow. Fox. A female voice shouted from above him. The shinobi turned hero. Looking up, Fox spotted Diana flying down towards him. "Yo." Fox greeted the Amazonian princess with a wave of his hand. "How was your trip?" "Enlightening," Diana answered, though even she knew how much of understatement what she just said was. Even being out in the world for just a day revealed how everything she learned of the world outside Themyscira was both right and wrong. She learned and witnessed the horrors and injustices that her sisters told her about, but she also found people, men included, that fought against the darkness that corrupted the world, doing what they could to help others, opposing those that were driven by greed and the desire for power. But she wasn't there to talk about her trip. "One of your clones informed me that you were here. They said there was a situation involving Green Lantern and the others went to investigate." "That's right," Fox replied, standing up, the red scarf around his neck and his cloak billowing in the wind. "Why wasn't I called?" the raven-haired princess asked. "There wasn't enough time," Fox answered with a shrug of his shoulders. "The others left as soon as they knew where Lantern was. Since we didn't know what was going on, we didn't want to waste any time." Diana nodded her head in understanding, but looked at Fox curiously. "And yourself? Why did you choose to stay here instead of going with the others to help Green Lantern?" Wonder Woman asked curiously. "To make sure that you and Batman had enough backup if something happens here," Fox told her honestly. "Besides that, a lot of my elemental jutsu would have been restricted while in space." Fox admitted, as he would only have use of his Rasengan, shadow clones, and a few other jutsu. Even with those limitations placed on him, Naruto knew that he would be able to take on anything they might come across. But he still felt that it was a better idea that he stayed on Earth. "Since I stayed behind, Superman asked me to help keep an eye out here," the shinobi finished, as if in response to his statement. The two heroes could hear sirens in the distance. "Looks like duty calls," Fox said, an excited grin spreading under his mask at what was to come, before he kicked off the Daily Planet globe in the direction of the sirens. Diana blinked a couple of times in surprise, not expecting the speed that Fox had taken off in before she flew after him. "What are you doing?" Wonder Woman asked once she caught up with her comrade and found him standing on a building across from a bank surrounded by Metropolis police cars. "Watching, waiting," Fox replied aloofly. Diana was about to question him some more, but the sound of crashing and guns being fired drew her attention down below. "What is that thing?" she asked out loud. Out of the destroyed front doors of the bank walked a huge creature. Its appearance was very similar to that of a human male, but that was where all similarities ended. While human in shape and form, it was much bigger than any normal man that Diana had ever seen. With gray skin, chalk-white hair, and yellow-colored eyes, it wore a tattered black suit and carried a bag filled with what Wonder Woman assumed to be the currency of the United States. "Solomon Grundy," Fox responded, "a mortal undead zombie with super strength," he informed her. "Not all that bright though," the shinobi added in the end. The Amazon princess watched as the zombie didn't seem to be fazed by the bullets that he was being pelted by, besides being annoyed by them, as he picked up a destroyed door that had been lying at his feet and throwing it at the police officers, causing them to scramble away from it. "We have to stop that thing." Wonder Woman decided about to go down there and confront Grundy, only to be stopped when Fox placed a hand on her shoulder. "Hold on, I am only here to give help if needed," the Fox-themed hero reminded her. Diana furrowed eyebrows in confusion. "And they don't look like they need help?" Diana questioned, gesturing to the cops down below. "They're not who I am talking about," Fox said back, looking up to the sky and seeing someone flying down towards clash that was happening. "Then who?" "You're about to find out," Fox answered simply as Diana followed his gaze. "That's enough, Grundy," a female voice commanded. The owner of the voice was a girl in her late teens with pale blonde hair that went down to her mid-back with black hair band. Dazzling pale blue eyes and luscious red lips. Over her decently sized chest she wore a white shirt that left her slim midriff exposed. A small blue skirt, a red cape, which was nowhere near as long as Superman's or Batman's as hers, stopped at about her waist. On her feet she had on a pair of red boots and simple white gloves over her hands. Over her chest Diana spotted a familiar red shield and S that the Amazon princess had only spotted on one other person, Give up and turn yourself in, she finished while glaring down at Grundy. Is she related to Superman? Diana questioned her companion, sparing a glance but keeping most of her attention focused on the situation down below. Fox nodded his head as he stared down at the blonde with a fond smile on his face. Supergirl, she's his cousin, he replied quietly, a weak attempt at keeping his presence a secret from the Girl of Steel. Grundy lets out a grunt as he dropped the bag full of money and rushed to pick up the nearest squad car, the police officers running away when they noticed the zombie coming closer, before he threw it at the flying blonde girl. Yeah, I didn't think you would, Supergirl admitted. With practiced ease, the female Kryptonian caught the squad car and proceeded to lower it back to the ground. After safely setting the squad car back on the ground, the Kryptonian flew at the zombie and met a charging Grundy halfway. Supergirl was easily the faster of the two, lashing out a couple of punches that would have broken the bones of most to its chest before ending it with an uppercut. Grundy, if nothing else, proved that he was resilient because although he staggered back a bit, he recovered quickly enough and succeeded in grasping Supergirl's cape in his hand before he spun around and tossed her up into the air. Supergirl managed to right herself in midair before she slammed into anything. Okay, she said, tossing her cape back, which had flipped in front of her to cover her face. Let's try this, the blonde Kryptonian finished, her eyes glowing red as she used her heat vision on Grundy. The zombie threw his arms protectively in front of him to block the heat vision. Not seeing the effect that she was hoping for, Supergirl once more charged at Grundy. This time though, the supervillain was better prepared, as the second he felt that the heat vision stopped, he focused a glare at the quickly approaching Supergirl and threw a punch at her. Two fists collided and for a moment in a stalemate before Supergirl pushed Grundy's larger hand to the side and closed in on the remaining distance before landing another punch onto Grundy's chest. Grundy let out a grunt and almost buckled over from the hit, but instead he brought both his arms around Supergirl and tried to crush her against him. While a bit uncomfortable, in more ways than just one, Supergirl realized that Grundy's efforts to crush her were proving futile. With a smirk quickly spreading across her face as a plan formed in her head, Supergirl flew up into the air, Grundy going with her. When the zombie realized what was happening, he tried to release his hold on the blonde alien, only for Supergirl to grab hold of his tattered sports jacket and took him up higher. Soon enough, flying above most skyscrapers, at the apex of their vertical climb, Supergirl dove straight down to the streets below. Grundy failing his arms around wildly and clawing at Supergirl in attempt to stop the inevitable. When they hit the ground, they created a crater around them along with a small earthquake. From the crater, Supergirl flew up with a self-satisfied smile on her face and her hands on her hips as she looked down at a knocked-out Grundy. Finally, Supergirl dislodged a nearby street lamp and wrapped it around Grundy, using her heat vision to weld it together, before leaving him in the care of the officers for transport. That should hold you, Supergirl declared, cleaning her hands of imaginary dust before turning her attention to the remaining officers. He's all yours, she finished before flying higher into the air. Supergirl had the full intention of leaving, her mind already concentrated on what other crime she might be needed to prevent while her cousin was away, when a voice called out to her and made her stop, a voice that she was all too familiar with but had not heard in a long while. Supergirl. Fox called loud enough for the Girl of Steel to easily hear with her super hearing. Even as her eyes trained in on the source, a large genuine smile graced her beautiful face. A part of her wondered at his use of her superhero name. Supergirl scarcely spotted him on the roof of a nearby building before she shot at him at speeds that equaled that of her cousins, that had people claiming he was faster than a speeding bullet. Fox! Supergirl shouted, still having the presence of mind not to shout out his real name where anyone could hear her. That of course didn't stop the Girl of Steel from pulling the shinobi hero into a hug. Fox let out a wince at the strength behind Supergirl's hug. Hey Supergirl, Fox managed to get out, mind easing up a bit? He asked a bit uncomfortably. While he was more resilient than most of the humans on the planet, that didn't mean that he could deal with a Kryptonian's super strength. Supergirl released Fox from her hug to smile sheepishly at him before that smile turned into a light glare. Where have you been? She asked him, punching his shoulder lightly. I haven't seen you in months. Supergirl pointed out. It was Fox's turn to smile sheepishly at his fellow blonde, not that it could be seen with his mask on, as he rubbed his shoulder. Just because she punched him lightly didn't mean it didn't hurt when her super strength was factored in. Geez, what is it with girls having monster strength? The shinobi muttered, which caused Supergirl to roll her eyes. It was something she caught him saying more than once in reference to her super strength. Sorry, Fox eventually apologized to his fellow blonde. I've been busy, he explained. Says the guy that can travel across the country in a few seconds and make copies of himself, Supergirl remarked before her gaze shifted to the other person that was standing on the roof, her attention so focused on Fox that she hadn't even noticed the beautiful woman standing only a few feet from her dear friend until that moment. Oh. Fox decided to handle between the two heroines. Diana, this is Supergirl, Superman's cousin, Fox started, avoiding calling her Superman's younger cousin only to have it denied by the female Kryptonian on the grounds that she was technically the older one between her and her cousin. Supergirl, this is Diana, or as she is being called, Wonder Woman. Supergirl cut Fox off joyfully as she held her hand out to the Amazonian princess. It's nice to meet you. Diana blinked a couple of times in bewilderment at Supergirl's reaction before she recovered and smiled back at the younger girl. It's nice to meet you too, Supergirl. Diana returned the greeting. Kara. My name is Kara Zor-El, but you can call me Kara, the blonde Kryptonian said. Then it would only be right as a sister that you should call me Diana, Wonder Woman decided. Sister? Kara questioned, with Fox feeling just as confused as Kara looked. Diana nodded her head before she explained herself. We Amazons are raised with the belief that all women should be considered as our sisters, she informed them. Okay, Kara said, still sounding a bit confused by the princess statement before turning her attention back to Naruto. So any particular reason you finally decided to pay me a visit? She asked him. Superman wanted me to help keep an eye on Metropolis while he was away, Fox told her. Kara frowned as she crossed her arms under her chest, unintentionally make them look a bit bigger, as she narrowed her eyes at Fox. You mean you're here to babysit me? She accused the shinobi, and with Wonder Woman, Kara finished sparing the Amazon princess another glance, taking a note of how beautiful she really was and flying closer to Naruto as a result. Diana found me looking to see what the situation was with Green Lantern and the others, Fox claimed as he gave her an eye smile, neither denying nor acknowledging her accusation before he tried to change the subject. How's university? He asked her. Kara let out a huff, understanding what Naruto was doing but choosing to let it go anyway. The target of her ire would be her cousin for thinking she needed a babysitter while silently thanking him for the chance to meet up with Naruto, even if not entirely unwanted company was included. It's annoying, Kara stated, annoyed. I learned everything in their math and science department back on Krypton, and I've read and memorized the material for all the other subjects. From what I understand, an education from colleges and universities are important, aren't they? Diana questioned her. Besides combat training, Diana was also taught many lessons about the history of her people and the world in general. As a child she found those lessons boring, but as she grew older she realized how important they really were, especially when she eventually took her mother's place as Queen of the Amazons. Yeah, but Kal-El insists on me getting the college experience and focusing on that. Really, he's just being overprotective and uneasy about me being a full-time hero. The girl of steel grumbled. She loved her cousin, she really did, but she didn't love how he kept such a close eye on her. Diana wondered for a moment who Kal-El was, but from the context of their conversation she could guess that Kal-El was Superman. Wanting to avoid getting further annoyed with her cousin, Kara turned her attention to something else she wanted to ask Naruto. So, the female Kryptonian started, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. If you were here all along, how did you think I did against Grundy? Kara asked keenly. Fox scratched the back of his head before answering honestly. You rushed in and tried to overpower Grundy when you were easily faster than him. You might have been stronger than him, though not as strong as Supes. You shouldn't rely on your strength alone to beat your opponents, especially when I've helped you with some taijutsu, Kara, Fox reprimanded the girl lightly. I know, I just forget about the lessons you give me sometimes in the middle of a fight, Kara said, slightly dejected. I think she did wonderfully, Diana defended the younger heroine. Seeing the slightly depressed look on Kara's face, Fox hastily tried to reassure her as well. Diana's right, Fox agreed. Besides, it's not like I didn't rush into every situation without thinking when I was younger. He supplied, revealing a small bit of his past to the two women. At least you can take care of yourself if anything happens. Plus you're incredibly smart too. I usually needed someone else's help before I got myself out of trouble. Really? Kara asked, sounding surprised, blushing a bit at his compliment. I didn't know that. In her mind since the day she first met Naruto he had been amazing hero on equal standing with her cousin. To hear that that wasn't the case when he was younger was kind of an eye-opener for her. Yup. Fox acknowledged readily, I was kind of a hopeless case when I was younger. He freely admitted as he gained a distant look in his eyes. Remembering some of his adventures he went on, the people he met, and the bonds they formed, a smile appeared on his face, but it was thanks to that I realized that we're stronger when fighting alongside others. Fox finished. He might not have been some sort of complete badass, still a badass just not a total badass, but the bonds he ended up forming with those he met was what gave him the strength and drive to face the challenges later on in life. Alright, how about you help me? Kara offered, feeling a bit more cheerful after Naruto's short speech. It's been a while since the last time you gave me a lesson on hand-to-hand combat. Maybe it's time for a refresher course, Supergirl stated somewhat eagerly. Fox thought it over for a second and couldn't really see anything wrong with it. There was nothing going on at the moment, otherwise his shadow clones in Watchtower would have alerted them. So sparring with the female Kryptonian might actually a better use of their time instead of just patrolling around the city and waiting for something to happen. Okay, he agreed, getting the blonde girl to cheer, and it's called taijutsu, Fox corrected her. Whatever, Supergirl said dismissively. Fox sighed before turning his gaze to Diana, you want to come with us? The black-clad hero asked. Diana thought it over for a second but in the end couldn't think of anything else to do with her time, so she eventually nodded her head. Sure, she answered, much to the slight displeasure of Kara. Alright, hold on, Fox told them as he placed a hand on both their shoulders before they both disappeared in a yellow flash. Just as the trio of heroes disappeared, a certain reporter barged onto the roof. With her trusty cameraman who was hoping to get a chance to talk with a certain blonde superheroine. And immediately started to curse out loud once she realized that they were up there by themselves, having been in the bank when Grundy robbed it. Seeing the girl of steel stop to talk to the elusive Fox and the newest heroine Wonder Woman, Louise Lane moved as fast as her slender legs could carry her to the roof of the building in the hopes of getting an interview with the three heroes, maybe even an exclusive on the Justice League. Unknown location. When the three heroes appeared in another yellow flash, they were no longer in the City of Tomorrow but instead they were in some forest. Besides trees, the heroines could see a relatively large wooden house, a giant lake which had a large orange toad lounging casually in the water, and large open field between the house and the lake. Supergirl was gaping at the toad, having been here before, while Diana was looking around curiously. Welcome to my home, Fox said, pulling his hood off to reveal his sun-kissed blonde hair, mostly to Diana. Well, one of them, he added as an afterthought, having a couple of apartments in different cities. That is one big toad, Kara gaped, actually having to look up to see its head. Naruto focused his attention on the toad. Kichi, just how long do you plan to laze about here? The shinobi asked his old friend, the orange toad refusing to leave after it had been summoned so he could relax. Gamakichi looked down at his summoner. Come on Aniki, I am on vacation, Kichi told Naruto. Fox raised an eyebrow in question, a vacation from what exactly? Naruto questioned him. I am the toad's only summoner, he pointed out. Oh yeah, Gamakichi retorted. Let's see you hang out with Gamatatsu for an entire day, plus Pops wants to retire soon so he's been teaching me what it means to be the toad boss. The giant toad explained, what it wouldn't give to go back to the days that he didn't have to worry about anything and just relax all day, back to the days he could ride on top of Naruto's head. With a sigh, Naruto nodded his head in understanding. Fine. But we're going to be training, just to warn you, Fox stated. Taking a closer look on the two heroines with Naruto, a sly smile, or at least what passed for sly on a toad's face, appeared on Gamakichi's face. Who would have thought that you'd be such a ladies' man, Aniki, having two such beautiful girls all to yourself, Kichi said, sending the blonde shinobi a wink. Shut up, Fox muttered, doing his best to ignore the looks that Kara and Diana were sending his way. So what do you think of my home, Diana? The shinobi hero asked the Amazon princess. It's beautiful, Diana decided, and quite peaceful, she finished. Fox nodded his head in agreement. That's part of the reason that I chose to live out here. It's peaceful and with all the nature it really reminds me of home, Fox said as he led the two heroines to the open field. How do you even afford to live out here? Kara asked. Fox gave her a look of confusion. I've never told you. He asked her back. No, Kara answered, crossing her arms. Weird, Fox murmured. It's how I first met Superman. I wrote a book, he explained. Kara and Diana looked at Fox in surprise. A book, they both said at the same time before Kara realized something. Hold on, she began. I don't even know how you met Kal-El. The Kryptonian realized. I don't even know how you got here. I know that you aren't originally from Earth, but I don't know where you are from or how you got here, Kara pointed out. How about this then? Fox started. If you beat me in our spar then I'll tell you, he offered. Kara narrowed her eyes suspiciously. And if I lose? She asked. Fox shrugged his shoulders uncaringly. Then you have to go on not knowing, he stated with foxy smirk under his mask as he stood at the center of the field with Kara across from him. Guess I'll just to beat you then, Kara returned confidently, as Diana backed away ensuring the two had enough space for their spar. Any rules? The girl of steel asked. No heat vision or super breath and I won't use any jutsu, Naruto said and got a confident nod of agreement from Kara. At some unsaid signal the two blondes charged at each other, Kara not hesitating to fly just a bit above off the ground seeing as Naruto didn't say she couldn't. Kara threw the first punch but Fox easily dodged around it and responded with a punch of his own, having to add chakra into his limb in order for it to have any effect on the Kryptonian. Kara pushed through the bit of pain that Naruto's punch managed to cause and tried to hit him with an uppercut only to have Fox flip backwards. Kara refused to let up and followed after Fox delivering blows to the ground every time she missed and leaving a crater in her wake. Fox pushed off the ground and jumped over Kara. The blonde Kryptonian reacted as would be expected of someone possessing super speed and managed to spin herself around a kick at the ready. Naruto managed to bring his guard up in time to block the kick, noting that Kara was at the very least holding back from using her full strength seeing as the bones in his arms weren't pulverized, but could do little else as he had yet to even land back on the ground and instead was sent a few feet away. Fox managed to right it himself midair and get his feet back under him even as he slid back a few feet kicking up dirt as he went. Naruto had a moment to appreciate his healing factor. Already feeling the bones in his arms which were either broken or had multiple fractures healing. Before Supergirl was once more on him a confident smile adoring her beautiful features as a result of their last small confrontation. Fox took a small bit of pleasure in wiping that smirk off her face as he blitzed at her faster than what she had been expecting. With every series of blows that Fox managed to land Supergirl grew a bit more frustrated and her attacks became a little more wild. After landing a kick to Supergirl's midsection Fox moved back. Calm down Kara, Fox advised her seriously. Stop for a second breath and remember the things I've taught you in our previous spars. What I remember, Kara said, a bit of a growl in her voice as she took a deep breath, is that shinobi are masters of deception and that you have a bet to win, she pointed out. True, Fox agreed with a nod of his head, but I am also your friend and this is spar supposed to help you, the shinobi pointed out in return. With a nod in agreement Kara closed her eyes as she took one final deep breath before snapping her eyes open. A grin spread across Naruto's face from beneath his mask instantly sensing the change in Kara as she seemed far more focused than before. This time when Kara took to the air she didn't charge straight at Naruto instead choosing to go higher into the air before diving down, her fist cocked back. Realizing what Kara was attempting to do Naruto jumped back as quickly as possible to, hopefully, get out of range. Within seconds Kara's fist impacted with the ground shattering the ground beneath it and a good area around her while causing a small earthquake at the same time. Which Fox tried to keep himself from falling over from. Kara didn't let this small advantage go as she flew at Naruto while lashing out with a back heel kick. Fox managed to block the kick once more and this time managed to keep himself from being thrown back. Kara didn't stop there though as she used her ability to fly to move above Fox in attempt to deliver a kick to the back of his head, which Naruto had to roll forward in order to avoid. Standing back up Fox faced Kara. That's better, he commented. Just don't blame me when you lose our bet, Kara replied confidently. Fox had a smirk on his face as he threw a punch at Kara that was immediately deflected and the ones that followed with her enhanced reflexes. At that point most people would have been discouraged about their chances of winning. Most people weren't Naruto Uzumaki. He had faced insurmountable odds before and came out on top fighting an opponent with super enhanced abilities wasn't about to get him down. Stepping back Fox let Kara throw a punch at him as he pumped more chakra throughout his body before he just blurred. Even to Kara's eyes, He grabbed Kara's outstretched arm and threw her over his shoulder, the girl of steel stopping herself from being thrown too far away. Kara had just straightened herself out when she found Naruto's face centimeters from her own, their noses nearly touching, the close proximity surprising her, causing her eyes to widen and her cheeks to redden, while Kara attempted to say only for a single punch to cut her off and send her up into the sky. Recovering from Fox's punch, Kara looked down at Fox, trying to come up with a plan. Fox didn't give her that time as he pumped chakra into his legs and jumped into the air after her. While the two started to trade blows again, Kara took some comfort in the knowledge that she had a slight advantage over Naruto at the moment, since while the blonde shinobi could jump high into the sky, he couldn't fly. She just had to wait him out. As expected, after a few moments Naruto began to descend back to the ground, Kara waiting a second before flying down after him. A frown appeared beneath Fox's mask as Kara grabbed him by his coat and sped up their descent towards the ground. Realizing that he made a mistake similar to the one Grundy made earlier, normally the shinobi could have used a replacement jutsu to get him out his bind, or use one of his other jutsu to force Kara to let go of him. As it stood, no matter how much chakra he channeled into his limbs, Supergirl wasn't about to release her hold on him, understanding a bit of pain was necessary for her to win. Before he knew it, Fox felt himself be slammed into the ground, with Kara landing on top of him as dirt was kicked up all around them. When he finally opened his eyes as the dust started to settle, Fox spotted Supergirl straddling his waist, one hand on his chest keeping him pinned down and the other pulled back ready to strike. "So do you give up?" Kara asked with a smirk on her face. Instead of surrendering immediately as she imagined, Kara watched as a mischievous look appeared in Naruto's eyes. A look that Kara both enjoyed and dreaded, depending on whether the target of Naruto's prank was her or not. At the moment she was definitely dreading it. "You know, I could really get used to his," Fox commented almost casually, if it wasn't for the teasing tone in his voice that Kara picked up on. "It's such a nice view," he finished, his eyes flicking from Kara's face before moving downward for a second before returning to looking her straight in the eyes. Finding herself curious about what Naruto was talking about, Kara looked down and finally noticed the position that they were in. More specifically, what it revealed. Because of her position on top of Fox, Supergirl's skirt had ridden up slightly, exposing a lot of her leg and almost revealing her underwear to Naruto. Cheeks turning a dark red, Kara instinctively threw a punch at Naruto's head, only for the shinobi to disappear thanks to his Hiraishin at the last moment to avoid her punch and reappear only a few feet away, Kara's fist digging into the ground where Fox's head had been. "Okay, I give up," Fox said with a bit of a chuckle, that chuckle turning into full-out laughter when he saw the glare Kara was sending him, with a blush still apparent on her face. "That was an excellent fight," Diana complimented the two. Not having heard the last exchange that happened between the two blondes, she didn't understand the reason behind Fox's laughter or Kara's glare. "Thanks," Supergirl said in a bit of a huff, giving Naruto one last glare. Fox grinned at Kara and gave her a Kakashi patented eye smile before turning his attention to the raven-haired princess. "So what did you think, Diana?" the shinobi asked her for her opinion. Diana crossed her arms under her breasts, unintentionally making them appear bigger and causing Kara to look down at her own noticeably smaller chest in comparison and frown, as she thought over the fight that she had just witnessed. "Well, I won't lie by saying that you two were on even grounds at the beginning of your spar," Wonder Woman started. "What Fox meant was clear after your first clash. Even more so after Kara listened to Fox's advice and took a moment to calm down in exchanges that followed. Kara, using your powers to help enhance your hand-to-hand capabilities to bring you to a more even footing with Fox and his skills, despite the difference in your apparent abilities in hand-to-hand combat, was an excellent idea, and with more practice you'll only become an exceptional warrior in the future," Diana finished, giving the younger girl a gentle smile. "Thanks," Kara answered, feeling a little embarrassed by Diana's positive analyze of her skills. "I doubt I would have done nearly as well if Fox hadn't been holding back so much," the Kryptonian admitted somewhat humbly. For her all her powers and strength, Kara was at least still conscious of the fact that the only reason that she had won was because Naruto had restricted himself far more than he had her at the beginning of her spar. "You shouldn't underestimate your own skills," Diana advised the blonde heroine, as she gave a glance in Fox's direction. "Diana's right," Fox agreed instantly. "While you're not exactly new to the hero business, you are still learning to be a proper fighter with an actual style and not just throwing out super-powered punches and hoping it will be enough to knock the other guy down," he said, giving her another eye smile. Give it some time and keep up practicing and training and you'll be kicking even Soup's ass before you know it, the shinobi hero finished confidently. Kara giggled a little at the image of her proudly standing over her knocked-out cousin, who had swirls for eyes, which Naruto's statement invoked. All right. The girl of steel relented in agreement with a beautiful smile on her face. Diana smiled as well as she watched the younger girl before turning her gaze to Fox. That being said, your skills were still quite impressive, Fox. I'd enjoy a chance to spar against you myself, without any restrictions, the Amazonian princess stated with a challenging smirk on her face, as she looked right into Fox's eyes. Whenever you want, I'll be ready. Fox returned, an excited gleam appearing in his eyes. For a moment the two trained warriors stared at each other down, waiting for the other person to make the first move. Their little standoff came to an end when Kara stepped in between the two of them. That's going to have to wait, the female Kryptonian stated as she looked toward Naruto. You promised me a couple of stories if you lost, remember? She reminded him. Wonder Woman also looked at Fox expectantly, admittedly curious about the shinobi's origins and how he came to possess the strength he does. Right. Naruto replied as he rubbed the back of his head. Their small bet had actually slipped his mind for a second. Well, the blonde shinobi started only to stop mid-sentence and look straight up to the sky. Something's happening. Superman just used my Hiraishin Kunai to call me, Fox said seriously. What? Diana said, a bit surprised. How can you tell? She asked him. The Hiraishin Kunai sends out a sort of beacon that I can sense, the shinobi hero explained. Even with how far away they have to be? Kara questioned, this time in slight amazement. The distance between them and the tri-pronged kunai that her cousin must have had been carrying being infinitely great. That's the beauty of seals, especially time-space ninjutsu, Fox said with a shrug of his shoulders. I just need to know how it works and have enough chakra to use it. Okay then, Kara said as she put her hands on her hips. What are we waiting for then? Let's go. We shouldn't waste any more time, Diana agreed. The others could be in danger. Naruto looked at Kara confused for a moment before he realized that she planned to go with them. Diana being a given, but he also knew Kara long enough that nothing he said would dissuade the blonde girl from going with them. Okay, he agreed as he held out his hands for both heroines to take. I've never traveled this far, and with passengers, so it might take a bit more out of me and be a bit rough, Fox warned them, which they responded by nodding their heads to show that they understood before they all disappeared in a flash of yellow light. When the three heroes reappeared, they were standing in a hallway with the rest of the members of the Justice League, including a pissed-off-looking Jon Stewart, and 5 little old blue-gray-skinned men wearing red robes along with the green glow and lantern symbol that Green Lantern had. Fox was a little worn out, traveling across the universe, taking a lot more chakra than he was expecting, but still nothing that he was overly concerned about and wouldn't recover in a few minutes. Diana and Kara feeling a little dizzy. The three newly arrived heroes looked around for a moment before Fox addressed Superman. So, what's going on? He asked, as he picked up his kunai. Superman looked at the three of them curiously. When he used Naruto's kunai, he was obviously expecting Fox to show up, and knowing his cousin, he wasn't all that surprised that she showed up with him. What caught him off guard was the fact that the raven-haired princess happened to be with them. It made his inner journalist curious about what the three had been doing together before they appeared. But at the moment they had more pressing matters to attend to, though Superman would freely admit that he found the things that Flash was currently grumbling under his breath to be amusing. We have a situation, the Man of Steel stated seriously. Oa was regarded as one of the oldest planets in the universe. It is also the home base for the Guardians, the Little Blue Men, and their Green Lantern Corps, and currently it was being attacked by an army of manhunters. The name of the robots that had been sent to retrieve Green Lantern is Naruto. Diana and Kara learned as Superman explained everything they had discovered since arriving on Ajuris 5. Oa had intricately built towers that made the planet look all that more beautiful. Naruto wasn't all that thrilled by the lack of nature that he saw. At the center of the city was a fortress with a giant column of green light shooting up into the sky, and this was the building that the manhunters were focusing all their attention on. Green Lantern transported everyone from Ajuris 5 in a sphere of energy, the group arriving in time to hear the leader of the manhunters issuing out orders. They can't hide in there forever, the manhunter stated confidently. Rip it open. Rip them to the robot continued to say, only to finally notice the heroes arrive. They can't stop us, brothers, no one can. Attack, he commanded, pulling out his staff and extending it to its full length. As Fox landed on the ground beside Flash, grateful that the planet had an atmosphere that allowed them to breathe before he got to work. Pulling out a pair of kunai, he channeled his wind chakra into the small blades and charged at the enemies. Up above, Superman and Supergirl were tearing through robots like they were paper. Kara grabbed one of the robots, the metal being crushed under her strong grip, before she threw it at a group of the Manhunters and used her heat vision to cause the one she threw to explode, taking the others with it. While Fox wasn't pushing himself to run as fast as Flash, the Shinobi was still running faster than the Manhunters could follow, making it impossible to hit him with their staffs as they fired at him. Closing in on a group of Manhunters, Fox used his wind-enhanced kunai to slash at the Manhunters, cutting off limbs and moving to the next group. Those robots he dismembered, exploding soon after. Wind style. Air bullet. A single air bullet was released from Fox's mouth, knocked many Manhunters onto the ground. Acting quickly, Fox went through another series of hand seals before slamming his hands onto the ground. Earth style. Rock pillar spears. He called, summoning forth a multitude of rock spears to skewer through various Manhunters. 3 Manhunters fired down at Fox from above, forcing the Shinobi to dive to the side in order to avoid being hit. Getting back on his feet, Fox threw a kunai with an explosion tag attached to it. Like back on Earth, the explosion had little effect on the trio of Manhunters, but Fox only needed it as a momentary form of distraction as the smoke obscured their vision of him. The Manhunters floated through the smoke. What they didn't expect was for Fox to be right there with a big ball Rasengan in each hand. The Manhunter in the middle was grinded into nothing by the 2 Rasengan, while his 2 compatriots were torn in half. As Fox landed back on the ground, and the Manhunters exploded above him, he missed the one Manhunter that was taking aim behind him. Fox only spotted the robot when it was about to fire. Luckily, he was saved when Wonder Woman's lasso went around the Manhunter's neck. With a powerful pull, Wonder Woman first slammed the Manhunter into the ground, a crater forming under it, before the raven-haired Amazon spun around, smashed the Manhunter into a few others and leaving them in a heap. Landing so they were back to back with one another, Diana glanced at Fox from over her shoulder with a smirk on her face. "Seems I always have to watch your back," she remarked lightly, referring back to when she blocked the fire from the white parasitic aliens. A Manhunter rushed Wonder Woman, but with a single punch to its midsection, the Amazon princess caused it to drop down to its knees before a kick sent it crashing back. With the Manhunter taken care of, Diana turned around to face Fox, an action that Fox mirrored. "I don't know what you're talking about," Fox claimed, performing a few hand signs before holding up one of his Hiraishin kunai off to the side, a sealing matrix appearing in the air in front of it, blocking the blast from a cannon that was part of the main building, which after being absorbed by the seal was shot back, destroying the cannon and the Manhunter inside. The 2 heroes smiled once more at each other before they each lunged at a Manhunter that was behind the other. Kara had taken one of the staffs from a Manhunter and was using it to drive others back. Spinning around, Supergirl slammed the staff into a Manhunter's head that was trying to sneak up on her from behind, forcing their head upwards. Pulling back a bit, Supergirl flew a little bit higher and spun on her side, bringing down the staff right on the Manhunter's head and sent it rocketing to the ground below. Turning around, Kara blocked the strike from another Manhunter with her own staff. They traded strikes for a moment before the blonde Kryptonian used her superior speed to get inside his guard and punched it in its chest, which caused it to go flying before slamming into the side of a building. Activating the staff's ability to use electricity to stun opponents, Kara put it at maximum output before throwing it like a javelin, sending it through multiple Manhunters. A wide smile spread across Kara's face as she looked around for Fox before it turned into a frown with narrowed eyes when she spotted him with Diana. Kara respected, liked, and even admired Diana, she really did. Only a couple of months and Wonder Woman was already considered a great superhero. So how could Kara not look up to her even a little? But seeing the beautiful Amazon princess so close to Naruto and talking so casually with him, while in the middle of a battle no less, seriously annoyed her. Supergirl was so focused on Fox and Wonder Woman down below she completely ignored the Manhunter that was flying towards her from her side. Acting on instinct alone, she thrusted her fist out, knocking the Manhunter's head clean off without looking at it even once. Superman paused as he was about to tear through another Manhunter when another robot's severed head flew in between him and his current opponent. Following the trajectory to its source, Superman noticed the headless body of the Manhunter fall to the ground and away from Kara, who still had her fist held out. The blonde Kryptonian's attention elsewhere. Switching his gaze to what his cousin was looking at, Kal-El shook his head and turned his attention back to the Manhunter when he realized it was Fox and Diana that she was staring at. Maybe he should be concerned about his cousin's not so small and obvious crush on Fox, obvious to everyone but him. She was his younger cousin after all. Despite how vehemently Kara claimed the contrary since she was born first, so he should be cautious of any guy that she took an interest in, but Superman knew that if he said one word about it to her he'd live to regret it. There are some things even Superman can't do, or should even try, the last son of Krypton thought. Flash was running up the side of the fortress dodging around the laser blast of a group of manhunters who were positioned on one of the fortress walls. Unfortunately, the manhunters' constant fire destroyed parts of the fortress, causing some wreckage to loosen and hit Flash while he was distracted by a blast that had come close to hitting him straight in the face, knocking him on his back. Seeing Flash knocked, defenseless Green Lantern landed in front of the downed speedster and quickly created a barrier with his ring. Lantern instantly felt a great strain on himself with just keeping the barrier up as it suffered under a barrage of laser fire. John had been taking out his own fair share of manhunters, using his intangibility to phase a hand through them before becoming tangible again and causing them to short-circuit, all the while taking extra precaution in not being hit by their electrified laser fire. The Martian had just twisted a manhunter's arm behind their back and pushed them away when he noticed Flash and Green Lantern's situation. Flying down, John landed beside Flash and took a hold of the speedster before phasing through the ground, getting them both out of danger. Seeing that John had taken Flash out of harm's way, Green Lantern let the barrier drop before taking to the air and firing a blast with his ring, his attack being joined by 5 other blasts of green energy, destroying all the gathered manhunters. A bit surprised at the support, John Stewart looked over his shoulder to see 5 other members of the Green Lantern Corps flying alongside Hawkgirl. "We've got your back, John," one of the lanterns said as he moved to fly beside John. Most of the lantern's body was just a ball, with his face taking a majority of the front side. The rest of body consisted of 4 legs, with 3 toes on each foot, and his arms. The lantern's name was Gallius Zed, and he, along with the rest of the recently arrived Green Lanterns, with the exception of one, had been disparaging John when he first arrived on Ajuris 5, wanting nothing to do with him for the perceived slight he brought to the Green Lantern Corps. John just spared his fellow lantern a cold glare and flew away without saying anything to Zed as he rejoined the other members of the Justice League and Kara. "Things seem to be going well," Superman commented as he took a careful look around at the reduced enemy forces. "Speak for yourself," Flash groaned, rubbing his head. "I am going to have a killer headache for a week." Fortunately, Flash doesn't seem to have suffered any serious mental injury, John informed the others, having taken a quick look over the speedster once he had gotten him out of harm's way. "Even if he had, I doubt we would have been able to tell," Hawkgirl added. "Hey," Flash protested, "did anyone see what happened to the manhunter that was shouting out orders?" Fox asked, getting things back on track. Everyone exchanged glances but eventually came to the conclusion that the leader had somehow slipped by them. "Where would he have gone?" Wonder Woman asked, as she and the others looked to Green Lantern for answers. Green Lantern looked toward the building that a large number of manhunters were still guarding. "I have a good idea," he muttered grimly. At that moment, more manhunters showed up and started to attack the group, the 5 members of the Green Lantern Corps already moving to intercept them. "Go," Superman told John. "We'll handle them. It'll be easy," Supergirl declared with a confident grin as she palmed her fist in her other hand. She looked at Fox and her excitement was clearly evident because of the gleam in her eye. "What do you say, Fox? Want to see who can take down more of those tin cans?" Fox returned Kara's grin with his own from beneath his mask. "You're on," he replied, and with that the two took off, becoming nothing but a couple of blurs of red and black, one flying across the sky, the other the ground. "Right," Green Lantern mumbled, seeing the 2 blondes take off before shaking his head. "I'll leave them to all of you," he finished before flying off in the direction of the towering pillar green energy. When Green Lantern entered the fortress through a hole that had been made in the ceiling, his eyes swept the room searching for the missing manhunter, not being able to see it but his instincts telling him that the machine was there. The room was circular in design with a giant green lantern at its center that was releasing the towering energy of willpower, an opening in the ceiling to allow the energy to flow out. From the shadows, the lead manhunter snuck up behind Green Lantern before shocking him with its staff at full blast, causing Green Lantern to plummet down to the ground. Even though he felt slightly numb, Green Lantern forced himself to stand back up. "Manhunter, stop," he ordered, using his ring to trap the manhunter in a sphere. If it could, the manhunter would have sighed at the constant interruptions as he turned to face Green Lantern. "Not till we've reclaimed what is rightfully ours," Manhunter replied coldly. Green Lantern raised an eyebrow in curiosity at the statement. "Yours?" he asked. "The power the Guardians stole from us," the Manhunter claimed, slamming his electrified staff into the barrier. Green Lantern let out a grunt as he concentrated to keep the barrier up, but eventually had to let it fall when the Manhunter forced its staff through it enough to be able to fire at him. Taking into the air in order to avoid the laser fire, Green Lantern returned fire with his ring only for the Manhunter to dodge the blasts. Green Lantern tried to hit the Manhunter from close range, but he ended up in a stalemate with the Manhunter, who used its staff to counter Lantern's ring. "It was never yours," Green Lantern grunted out. "It was always the Guardians'." Breaking the stalemate, the Manhunter pivoted around Green Lantern and slammed his staff into the Manhunter's back and electrocuting the dark-skinned hero. "And they betrayed us," the lead Manhunter claimed as it watched Lantern fall, smoke coming off his back. "Abandoned us. Just like they abandoned you. None of them lifted a finger to help you and were willing to let you sacrifice yourself for their own sakes," the robot pointed out. "Why would you continue to fight for them?" the Manhunter demanded. Green Lantern did nothing but glare up at the Manhunter from where he lay. "Pitiful," the Manhunter scoffed as it turned its back on John Stewart and floated towards the giant lantern. Green Lantern's eyes widened once he realized what the Manhunter's intentions were. "Wait," he shouted, lifting his hand and firing a blast from his ring. The Manhunter instantly spun around, batting the energy blast away with his staff, and shot one back, causing Green Lantern to be thrown onto his back. Struggling to lift his head, Green Lantern watched as the lead Manhunter entered the giant lantern. No. Green sparks came off the lantern, hitting various spots around the room and causing things to crumble. 3 Guardians arrived, the rest of their group taking care of their fellow Guardians that had stayed back on Oa and as a result had been doing their best to fend off the Manhunters until help arrived. A look of despair crossed their face as they watched the Manhunter slowly be infused with the power of the Green Lantern Corps. The power left from Green Lantern's ring, causing his eyes to revert from green to black. Behind him, the Guardians also lost their power, causing them to fall to the ground. John rushed to their side and lifted one off the ground. "All is lost," the Guardian muttered, watching as the Manhunter lost its armor and became a giant figure made out of green and black energy, before falling unconscious. Green Lantern laid the elderly alien down on the ground gently as he turned to watch the lead Manhunter tear through the roof and make his way outside. Fighting amongst the others stopped once green lightning started to come off the fortress that the Manhunters had been trying to defend. Soon after, the members of the Green Lantern Corps seemed to lose their power as they fell out of the sky, needing to be saved by Superman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, John, and Hawkgirl, as moments later the lead Manhunter to crash through the roof. "What is that thing?" Hawkgirl asked no one in particular. "Looks like the Manhunter with an upgrade," Fox commented. "What about GL?" Flash asked worriedly. "I am sure he's fine," Superman reassured. "I can still feel a psychic connection established with Green Lantern," John informed everyone. "He is fine and is helping some of the Guardians, but he failed to stop the Manhunter from reaching the source of the Green Lantern's power," the Martian stated, getting the information from Green Lantern. "Green Lantern has a plan to stop it, but he needs to make sure the Guardians are safe first, so needs us to buy him some time," John finished. "Then we'll have to see about stopping the Manhunter ourselves until he gets here," Diana declared as she took off towards the power-up Manhunter, Flash, Hawkgirl, and John following her soon after. Superman watched them fly off for a moment before turning his attention to Fox. "She wouldn't happen to remind you of someone sometimes, would she?" the Man of Steel asked rhetorically with a smirk on his face. Fox pretended to think about it for a second before answering. "Kara?" he offered. "Hey. Well, yes, her too," Superman agreed, getting another shout of protest from his cousin. "But I was actually talking about someone else," he stated, looking pointedly at the shinobi hero. Fox ignored the look that Superman was sending him to shrug his shoulders nonchalantly. "I can't think of anyone," Fox replied in faux obliviousness. With a smirk hidden by his face mask, Fox charged at the lead Manhunter. "Right," Superman said, not for a second believing that Diana acted a lot like he did when he first arrived on Earth, as he took off up into the air. "Kal-El, don't think I am going to forget about you," agreeing with Naruto, Kara told her cousin under her breath, giving him a light glare as she flew beside him, as Superman suppressed a groan. The heroes were weaving around the Manhunter, attacking him when they had an opening. But they were also forced to be extra careful as the Manhunter seemed to be able to create constructs similar to the way the Green Lantern Corps could. Superman, Supergirl, John, and Wonder Woman punched the giant energy being, causing it to stumble back, but it quickly recovered and swiped at the 3 heroes. Hawkgirl came up from behind and slammed her mace into the back of its head. With a grunt of pain, the Manhunter turned its head and unleashed a blast of energy at Hawkgirl that was intercepted by Wonder Woman, who used her bracelets to block the blast. "Hey, tall, green, and ugly down here," Flash shouted up at the Manhunter, drawing his attention. "Think you can catch me, big guy?" he asked. In response, the Manhunter tried to crush the fastest man in the world by stomping on him, only for Flash to easily sidestep him. "Come on, you can do better than that," Flash mocked, only to dodge energy blasts a second later. "Seriously, that it? You're going to put me to sleep here?" he claimed, going as far as to even fake a yawn. "By the way, you might want to look up," Flash finished with a smirk, pointing a finger upwards. Looking up, the Manhunter saw Fox far above him, being held up in the air by Kara, a Rasengan forming in his hand. Supergirl released her hold of Fox, letting the shinobi to dive down at the Manhunter, adding more chakra into the Rasengan as he fell. "Odama Rasengan," Fox shouted, smashing the spiraling sphere of destruction into the Manhunter's face. The Manhunter let out a roar of anger as he tried to blast the shinobi, but the quick creation of a shadow clone got him out of the way. The Manhunter wasn't deterred though, as he immediately tried to swipe at Fox, only for the dark-clothed hero to dodge around his swipe and land on his arm. Dashing across the outstretched arm, Fox began to channel chakra into his legs as he ran to the Manhunter's head, making him faster. With a single jump, Fox reached the Manhunter's head and delivered a roundhouse kick to its head, fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Performing hand seals faster than most could follow, Fox unleashed an inferno, the flames taking the shape of a dragon that crashed into the Manhunter. The Manhunter stumbled back by the force of the kick combined with the fire jutsu before letting out another roar as he fired an energy blast at Fox, only for Supergirl to swoop in and get him out of the way. While the others were distracting the Manhunter, John was talking with the other members of the Green Lantern Corps and explaining their plan. "Are you sure this is going to work, John?" Kilowog, a big pink-skinned alien and a combat trainer for newly made Green Lanterns, asked hesitantly as he and the others snuck up on the Manhunter. "It has to. We don't have much a choice," John stated seriously, looking around a corner from within the fortress at the others fighting. "With him absorbing all the power, it would be too much for just one of us to take. If we work together, we just might have a chance." "Might?" Zed repeated skeptically. With a sigh, Kilowog shook his head as he got serious. "No, John is right. Even if this doesn't work, it is still our responsibility to try and stop it," the pink-skinned alien decided. "If we don't, the Manhunter will destroy Oa, the Guardians, finish off the Green Lantern Corps, and who knows what else," Kilowog said grimly, with the others agreeing shortly after. When John noticed the Manhunter's attention completely focus on Fox after it was hit by the fire dragon, he knew that they weren't going to get a better chance to stop it. "Move," he commanded as he and the others rushed the Manhunter. The Manhunter only took note of them after they had surrounded it, but paid them little mind, seeing as they lost their power. "In brightest day, in blackest night," John started to chant, the others following his lead. "No evil shall escape my sight." The Manhunter's eyes widened in horror once it realized what they were trying to do, and the slight dip in its power as the energy started to return to the Green Lanterns. "No!" it shouted as it moved to stop them, only to be immediately assaulted by the members of the Justice League and Kara. With so many people attacking it, the Manhunter couldn't concentrate and attack the Green Lanterns. "Help me, my brothers," he called, summoning whatever Manhunters were left. "Not so fast," Fox said, brining his hands together in a cross-hand seal, multi-shadow clone jutsu. The shinobi shouted, a mass cloud of smoke obscuring him from view, and once it dispersed, it revealed thousands of shadow clones, easily enough to match and outnumber the remaining Manhunters. "Seriously," Flash muttered, "he can create an army?" he asked disbelievingly. Flash had seen Fox use his shadow clone jutsu before, but never to this degree. "Let those who worship evil's might." The Green Lanterns continued reciting their oath, their rings glowing brighter as more energy was drawn into them. "Beware my power, Green Lantern's light," they finished loudly. The Manhunter's form started to become unstable as he lost his shape, only regain it a few seconds later. "No!" the Manhunter roared as it did its best to fight against the Green Lantern's efforts. "This is my power, I rightfully deserve it," he shouted, forcing some of the power to return to him and causing the Green Lanterns to weaken. "Shut up already," Fox shouted, using a couple of shadow clones to throw him at the Manhunter. Summoning his chakra, the shinobi sent it straight at the Manhunter in a pale imitation of his mother's chains, or when he used Kurama's power. "What are you doing?" the Manhunter demanded as he felt himself start to weaken once more. "Hal Jordan told me a few things about the power of the Green Lanterns when we hung out," Fox began as he forced more chakra at the Manhunter. "How it's based on a person's will. Well, my chakra is an extension of my will, and when it comes to a battle of wills, I am always going to win," Fox declared, his eyes burning bright with determination. The Manhunter couldn't deny Fox's claim, as every second that passed it could feel itself losing control even faster as its consciousness began to fade and the Green Lantern Corps gained ground. No. The Manhunter cried once more as it finally lost its stolen power to the Green Lanterns, who absorbed it all into their rings. What was left behind was a formless black wisp of energy that faintly looked like the Manhunter as it was surrounded by Fox's chakra, only to disperse completely once Fox cut the flow. Once the lead Manhunter disappeared, the remaining Manhunters that hadn't been destroyed fell uselessly to the ground. Later, the Guardians would explain that the Manhunters, while capable of individual thought and action, were part of a collective, sharing information with one another almost instantaneously, though so there wouldn't be confusion amongst the ranks. A single Manhunter was designed to lead the rest, making any final decisions that the collection of separate thoughts came up with. In essence, a general who would lead his soldiers. With the lead Manhunter destroyed, the rest were left vulnerable, unable to do anything for themselves and shut down. So who's in charge of cleanup? Flash asked, looking around at what remained of the Manhunters. Not it, he finished quickly, raising his hand. After the Green Lanterns had returned the power they held in their individual rings to the giant lantern within the fortress, everyone gathered outside. John Stewart stood before most of the Guardians, the only ones not there to see him off, those who were still weakened from holding off the Manhunters at the beginning of battle. We chose wisely when we offered you the ring, the Guardian spokesperson said. Thank you, John Stewart, he finished as he and the others gave the Justice League member a light bow. You don't need to thank me, Green Lantern denied with a shake of his head. This was the right thing to do, and I couldn't have allowed the Manhunter to destroy everything that the Green Lantern Corps stood for, the dark-skinned hero claimed. The Guardians smiled at Green Lantern's words. Whether you believe you deserve our thanks or not, you still have it, John Stewart, the Guardian said. May you, and your companions, have a safe journey home, he said with a final smile before he and the other Guardians re-entered the fortress. Next to approach John were the other members of the Green Lantern Corps, all of them with happy expressions on their faces. Your plan worked. We would have lost today if it weren't for you, Zed said in slight admiration. I guess we should have known better when this all started. We should have believed in you. John looked at each of the Green Lantern members and could see the slightly regretful look that had taken place on their face. Despite knowing that he should just let it go and that even he thought himself guilty at the beginning, the knowledge that they, his brother in arms, had turned their backs on him when it mattered most left him with a deep sense of betrayal. Yeah, you should have, he stated somewhat coldly, only sparing Kilowog a small smile to show his appreciation for when the pink-skinned alien stood up for him in court and that conveyed that he didn't hold anything against him. Moving past them, Green Lantern made his way to the members of the Justice League, the people who believed in him when even he didn't. Let's go home, Lantern said, holding up the hand that held his ring. Thanks, but I have a faster ride, Fox spoke up as he placed a hand on both Kara and Diana's shoulder, ready to use the Hiraishin to take them all back. Well, see you all when you get back to Earth. Hey, hold on. Flash cut in before they could leave. If you can get back to Earth so fast, why not just take us all with you? He asked. Because, Fox began, you all need to pick up the javelin and I don't want to risk taking too many people over such a great distance, the shinobi explained. Later, he finished, giving the other an eye smile before he, Kara, and Diana disappeared in his signature yellow flash. When the trio reappeared, they were once more outside Fox's home in the woods, Gamakichi still lounging in the lake giving a small wave when they appeared. I don't know about you two, Fox began, heading towards his home, but after that battle I could really go for some ramen, he stated before glancing at Diana. Besides, I remember promising someone a chance to try it. I'll have to admit your talk about this ramen has me curious to try it, Diana said, sparing the shinobi a smile, though I believe you promised me the best ramen in the world. Trust me, Fox retorted. The stuff I can make is 1,000 times better to the manufactured stuff you'll find in most of the world, he finished, leading the two heroines into his home. That's not the only thing you promised, Kara reminded the both of them. You also have to tell us how you came to Earth, she stated. Fine, Fox relented. I'll tell you as we eat. Thanks for watching.